Chapter 80. Half-Holy Grade Martial Tactic, Returning Chi Technique. Bainmois placed the book on the table. Another half-holy martial art, and an inner strength one at that. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat as he rejoiced. In just a short period of time, he had effortlessly obtained a half-holy grade movement technique, and now, he had obtained a half-holy grade internal cultivation technique. These two half-holy martial arts were perfect for Zhao Feng. The light micro-steps that he cultivated was only a high-level martial art. Even with the help of the air-crossing formula, it was at most equivalent to a top-level footwork. It was far inferior to the smoking invisible steps that the wooden youth had just taken out. As for inner strength, Zhao Feng's lightly floating fairy could only be compared to a half-holy martial art if it was used with air-crossing breathing technique. The Qi returning technique that Bainmois took out was a half-holy grade inner force cultivation technique. I killed a cultivator of the 9th rank from the neighboring country and got this book. I haven't even read it yet. If you can memorize it in such a short period of time, I admit that you have won. Bainmois said calmly. Killed a cultivator of the 9th rank? Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Just how strong was this youth in front of him to be able to kill a cultivator of the 9th rank? The weird thing was that Third Guard and Nan Gongfan didn't question Bainmois' words. Zhao Feng could see a hint of jealousy in Nan Gongfan's eyes. Obviously, even though they were from the same sect, Third Guard and Nan Gongfan were both envious of Bainmois' insane talent. Now that they had finally met Zhao Feng, they were overjoyed to be able to beat him in a certain area. What, you don't dare? Bainmois' lips twitched. He didn't believe that there was anyone in the Guangzhou province city who could beat him in memory. He was sure that Third Guard and Zhao Feng were in cahoots with each other, trying to trick him. Okay. Zhao Feng's heart was filled with joy. Maybe to Third Guard and Bainmois, a half-holy martial art wasn't that valuable. After all, they were both disciples of Lord Guangzhou and had at least reached the 9th rank. But for Zhao Feng, this was a way to increase his strength. With that, he flipped through the contents of the returning essence Qi technique. Whoosh! Whoosh! Swoosh! Zhao Feng quickly flipped through the secret book. An undetectable light green luster appeared on the surface of his left eyeball, which was mixed with his inner strength aura. A few dozen breaths later. Paw! Zhao Feng placed the martial arts manual on the table and exhaled softly, feel free to order anything you like. Let me. A trace of suspicion flashed in Bainmois' eyes. He flipped open the returning essence Qi art and pointed at several places. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate and immediately answered, not missing a single word. Hee, Junior Bei. Don't go back on your word this time. Nan Gongfan's face was full of smiles. So there are times when Junior Bei loses. Third Guard said with a satisfied expression. After all, Zhao Feng was from the Sky Guards battalion and he was happy that Zhao Feng was able to defeat Bainmois. But the person who was happy the most was Zhao Feng. He had obtained 2 half-holy martial arts without any effort. Where else could he find such a good thing? Only Bainmois' face was slightly ugly as unhappiness flashed in his eyes. Anyone could see that Bainmois was unhappy. No matter how talented he was only a 15-year-old youth and he had always been looked up to by others. When had he ever suffered such a blow? Zhao Feng even saw a flash of coldness in Bainmois' eyes and his heart skipped a beat. It could be imagined that this had left a grudge in Bainmois' heart. Is it worth it to offend a super genius for 2 half-holy martial arts? Zhao Feng thought for a while. As the saying goes, where there is gain, there is loss. There is no benefit in this world that comes without a price. No matter how good your memory is, it doesn't represent talent. I'll be leaving first. Bainmois said expressionlessly as he left. Third Guard and Nan Gongfan looked at each other and smiled. They were happy to see Bainmois suffer. Zhao Feng returned to the wooden hut alone. Closing his eyes, the contents of the vitality-restoring Qi technique and smoking shadowless steps appeared in his mind. A smile appeared on his face as he started to comprehend the 2 martial arts. This was the first time Zhao Feng had come into contact with a half-holy martial art. First was the returning breath technique, which was a Nigong skill. Nigong skills focused on training the body and couldn't be touched or seen with the naked eye. The more profound the inner force mental cultivation method, the more complicated the circulation method and the profound meaning of the mental cultivation method. Therefore, Nigong skills were extremely dangerous and any mistake could cause one to go berserk. But for Zhao Feng, who had the ability of his left eye, this risk was extremely low. At this moment, when he used the ability of his left eye, a strange warm aura spread throughout his body. Zhao Feng could see the blood, meridians, and even the circulation of inner strength in his body. It was close to the microscopic world. This ability was similar to the legendary inner vision, but those who could have inner vision were at least at the peak of the 9th rank. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's ability was even more detailed than inner sight, and it was even more powerful. In just a few hours, Zhao Feng had learnt the basics of the returning breath technique. A half-holy martial art was so easily learnt that even Bei Moi would be shocked if he was there. Returning breath technique: gather the essence of the human body and condense it into inner qi, able to contain most inner strength. Training this qi technique will allow one to have twice the amount of inner strength compared to others of the same rank. During battle, one can assimilate part of the opponent's inner strength. Such a powerful Nigong skill. Zhao Feng's voice was slightly trembling. The advantage of the returning breath technique was that it was able to absorb and merge inner strength, making it twice as powerful as others of the same rank. It could even assimilate part of the opponent's inner strength during battle. Half a day later, a small ball of returning breath inner strength was formed in Zhao Feng's body, and its power was obviously stronger than the air-crossing breathing technique. The most surprising thing was that the returning breath inner strength could assimilate other inner strengths. The inner strength that Zhao Feng had cultivated using the air-crossing breathing technique was slowly being devoured. As time passed, the returning breath inner strength grew stronger. One day and one night, all of the inner strength in Zhao Feng's body had been converted into the returning breath inner strength, and the Nigong skill had been completely replaced by the returning breath technique. The new inner strength still had a layer of green luster, and it was agile and fast, yet it did not lose its sharpness. The returning breath inner strength in my body was mostly formed by devouring and assimilating the original air-crossing breathing technique, so it retained its original characteristics. Zhao Feng discovered this, and it was a pleasant surprise. In this way, his returning breath inner strength could still be used together with the lightly floating fairy movement skill. Perhaps the effect would only be 80 to 90% of the original, but it could be made up for with the amount and level of the returning breath inner strength. After the initial mastery of the returning breath technique, Zhao Feng felt that his inner strength was much stronger than before, at least 50% stronger than Lei Kong. And this was only the initial mastery. Next, he went outside to comprehend and practice smoking transparent steps. The style of this half-holy level movement skill was extremely similar to the light micro steps that Zhao Feng used to practice. Smoking transparent steps: the footwork is like smoke, stepping on the water, leaving no trace behind. At the initial mastery level, the footwork is silent, shadowless, unpredictable, and impossible to guard against. Because he had reached the max level of lightly micro step, it was easy for Zhao Feng to learn smoking transparent step. However, it was not so easy to reach the initial mastery level, or even the initial mastery level. Zhao Feng trained hard for a few days, but he was only close to the initial mastery level. At this difficult moment, his mind merged with the flowing wind stance in the dimension of his left eye. The flowing wind stance was a support-type incomplete holy martial art. It had a unique concept, and it was beneficial to movement skills. Now, Zhao Feng's understanding of the flowing wind stance had reached 20 to 30%. Combining it with the smoking transparent steps, he had a new understanding. A while later, Zhao Feng retracted his mind, as a flash of understanding flashed in his eyes. He then started to practice the smoking transparent steps again, and the result was that he easily reached the initial mastery level. After reaching the initial mastery level, his understanding of the footwork continued to increase, and it only slowed down when it was close to the advanced mastery level. At this time, Zhao Feng's flowing wind stance had also reached 50 to 60%. Almost there. Zhao Feng stopped practicing. Up until now, the main martial arts that he had trained were the following: Saint Grade Martial Tactic, Silver Wall Technique, Half Holy Grade Martial Arts, Qi Returning Technique, Smoking Shadowless Steps, Lightly Floating Fairy Peak Martial Art, Star Finger. Apart from that, there was also the Archery God's Left Eye, which couldn't be measured by normal standards. On top of that, Zhao Feng's cultivation of the 7th rank of the martial path was extremely strong. Even Zhao Feng couldn't estimate how strong he was right now. If I returned to Sun Feather City now, no one in the 3 major families would be my match. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. Of course, his ambition wasn't in Sun Feather City anymore. In this huge county city, there were many geniuses. There were many who were on par with him, and there were also some who were stronger than him. Baimuo's cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th rank, and he even had the ability to kill cultivators of the 9th rank of the martial path. Staying here made Zhao Feng feel the pressure and competition, and his potential was being squeezed out. After deciding on a few martial arts, Zhao Feng walked out of the wooden house. Within the Sky Guards battalion, the rankings of the 10 Sky Guards had changed once again. In a few days, Lord Guanjuan will come out of seclusion, and the geniuses of the Sky Guards battalion are all fighting for the position of the 10 Sky Guards. As Huang Qi said this, he looked a little depressed. There were too many geniuses in the Sky Guards battalion, and each of them had great talent. Under this pressure, the geniuses all improved by leaps and bounds. Huang Qi was considered the #1 genius in Pearl Forest City, but he couldn't make it into the 10 Sky Guards after coming to the Sky Guards battalion. 2 days ago, I barely managed to beat the 9th rank 10 Sky Guard, but I was beaten back to my original state in less than half a day. Huang Qi said bitterly. These days, the rankings of the 10 Sky Guards had changed. However, there were 3 people whose rankings remained unshakable. These 3 were Feng Hanyue, Lei Tsong, and Zhao Feng. Although Zhao Feng was ranked 10th, his true strength was at least in the top 3, so basically no one dared to challenge him. Everyone focused their firepower on the 9th ranker. Thus, the 9th rank 10 Sky Guards battalion kept changing. On this day, 3rd Guard announced, Lord Guanjuan has come out of seclusion, and he will come to the Sky Guards battalion in 3 days. Chapter 81. Lord Guanjuan has come out of seclusion and will be coming to the Sky Guards battalion in 3 days. This news caused the Sky Guards battalion to explode. Many of the young geniuses were excited as they rubbed their fists and rubbed their palms together in anticipation. In the Guanjuan province city, Lord Guanjuan was a legend that represented power and strength. He was a figure that countless cultivators looked up to. Now that Lord Guanjuan had come out of seclusion, there was a high chance that he would pick 1 or 2 geniuses from the Sky Guards battalion. As the news spread, the competition within the Sky Guards battalion became more and more intense. Because of this, the geniuses within the 10 Sky Guards were constantly challenged. Even within the 10 Sky Guardians, the young geniuses started to challenge and compete with each other. Everything was for a better ranking. Without a doubt, the higher the ranking, the higher the chance of being chosen by Lord Guanjuan. Many youths seemed to have gone crazy as they trained and challenged with all their might, even if it was just a sliver of a chance. In these 2 days, even Zhao Feng was challenged by some youths. Zhao Feng calmly used Star Finger and looked down on all his opponents. In order to save himself some trouble, Zhao Feng decided to reveal his cultivation of the 7th rank. He had 2 reasons for doing this. Firstly, he didn't want to be challenged again and again by these youths. If he reached the 7th rank and became a martial master, the other youths wouldn't dare to challenge him even if they had 100 guts. Secondly, the higher the potential Zhao Feng showed, the higher the chance of being chosen by Lord Guanjuan. Zhao Feng was full of respect for the legendary ruler of the Guanjuan province city. Oh my god! Zhao Feng has also reached the 7th rank. Another genius of the 7th rank has appeared in the Sky Guards battalion. The news of Zhao Feng reaching the 7th rank also caused a huge uproar in the Sky Guards battalion. Zhao Yufei and Huang Qi were both shocked as they came to congratulate him. Congratulations brother Zhao for reaching the 7th rank and becoming a martial master. Huang Qi's face was full of envy, and there was a hint of respect in his expression. There were 9 stages in the martial path, and every 3 stages represented a stage: martial disciple, and martial master. Every time he passed a stage, his status and identity would rise by a world of difference. Martial disciples were the lowest level of martial arts cultivators. Simply put, they were apprentices. A martial artist was an official martial artist who possessed extraordinary strength, a certain status, and was respected by others. Martial Dao masters who had advanced to the 7th stage and above were basically ranked in the top ranks of martial artists. They were in the upper class of Shangyun country and were respected by the people. Once he broke through to the 7th layer, in the Cloud country, or even any of the surrounding 13 countries, he would be the target of recruitment by the various factions. I knew brother Zhao Feng wouldn't lose to Feng Hanyue and Lei Kong. Zhao Yufei's clear eyes flickered with joy. As for Zhao Feng breaking through to the 7th layer, she easily accepted it and was very happy for him. From the outer circle of the family to the inner circle, and then to his fame in Sun Feather City, Zhao Yufei had witnessed Zhao Feng's rise and growth. Yufei, with your talent, it won't take long for you to break through to the 7th layer. Zhao Feng smiled as he glanced at Zhao Yufei with his left eye. Zhao Yufei's cultivation had also reached the peak of the 6th layer, and she was ranked 5th among the 10 sky guards. Her true strength was only below the 3 experts of the 7th layer. Sky Guards Battalion, in the Central Pavilion. There are a few geniuses in the Sky Guards Battalion this time. They shouldn't disappoint Master, 3rd Guard murmured to himself. Although he stayed in the Central Pavilion and rarely went out, he knew everything about the Sky Guards Battalion. Knowing that Zhao Feng had broken through to the 7th layer, Feng Hanyue and Lei Tsong, who were ranked 1st and 2nd, were slightly moved. The time of 3 days slowly approached. The Sky Guards Battalion fell into a tense atmosphere. Especially the names of the 10 Sky Guards, which were constantly changing. Under such pressure, the potential of the youths was squeezed out and released. The 9th position of the Sky Guards Battalion would change every half an hour. Only the 3 geniuses of the 7th rank of the martial path could stabilize their rankings. They were far ahead of the rest with their absolute strength, making it hard for the other youths to catch up to them. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, had calmed down. In the last 2 days, he was making use of his time to increase his strength. Among them, the returning breath technique was his main skill, and Zhao Feng wouldn't slack off on it every day. If one succeeded in cultivating this half-holy internal cultivation technique, the amount of martial Dao inner force in one's body would be twice that of someone of the same level. But Zhao Feng had only trained it for a short period of time, so his inner strength was only half as strong as others of the same rank. Compared to the peak 7th layer, he didn't have much of an advantage. Furthermore, Star Finger was also one of Zhao Feng's martial arts that he focused on. The power of this skill wasn't any weaker than a half-holy martial art, not to mention that Zhao Feng had already trained it to the peak 4th level. On the 3rd day, Zhao Feng's Star Finger finally reached the 5th level. Star Finger had a total of 7 levels, and once he reached the 7th level, he would be able to dominate the 9th rank of the martial path. The 5th level of Star Finger made Zhao Feng's finger skill shine like stars. It was like a small meteor shower, beautiful and beautiful. Extreme attack. Extreme speed. This was what Zhao Feng felt. His current Star Finger could shoot out 7 to 8 fingers in a breath's time, and the power of each finger could threaten those of the 7th rank. His signature move, Star Finger, had almost reached the 8th rank of the martial path, and this wasn't even considering his silver wall technique. Tomorrow, Lord Guanjuan will come to the Sky Guards Battalion. On the 3rd night, the competition and challenges in the Sky Guards Battalion became even more intense. In the middle of the night, Huang Qi, who had been in the same group as Zhao Feng, finally reached 9th place and stabilized his position. At this time, his 2 peak-ranked martial arts had reached a high level, and his cultivation had also reached the peak 6th rank. I'm finally back. Huang Qi let out a long sigh of relief and began to stabilize his battle achievements. He advanced by one more place, killing his way to 8th place. This was because the 9th rank was too dangerous, and there were too many challengers. Even with Huang Qi's cultivation at the peak 6th rank, he was only able to stabilize his position at the 8th rank. From this, one could see how intense the competition was. Zhao Feng, with your strength, you can definitely challenge the top 3. Huang Qi didn't understand. He knew Zhao Feng's strength very well. When he was at the peak 6th rank, he already had the strength of a quasi-martial master. After the mission, Zhao Feng's battle points would increase even more, which meant that his strength would increase even more. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had already broken through to the 7th rank. What was even more terrifying was that before Zhao Feng reached the 7th rank, he had fought Lei Zong for 100 moves and the result was a draw. Huang Qi was sure that Zhao Feng's strength was definitely one of the top in the Sky Guards battalion. The reason why he wasn't number 1 was because Feng Hanyue had reached the peak 7th rank 2 days ago. Of the 10 Sky Guards, Feng Hanyue was number 1. After him was Zhao Feng. Lei Zong was number 3. Of course, this was only based on strength. In the 10 Sky Guards, Zhao Feng was still number 10, and he was someone the other geniuses didn't dare challenge. I've already broken through to the 7th rank anyways, so the rankings don't matter. Zhao Feng smiled. Huang Qi couldn't help but reveal an envious expression. With Zhao Feng's potential, it was very likely that he would be chosen by Lord Guanjuan. The rankings indeed didn't matter much. To be able to reach the 7th rank before the age of 16 was definitely a super genius. In a small city, there might not even be one in 100 years. Time passed by slowly. Chapter 82. Da! Da! As the footsteps sounded, the hearts of the 10 geniuses became extremely tense. Only the wooden-faced youth, 3rd guard, sat expressionlessly on the spot. Creak! The door opened and 3 figures walked in. The person in the lead was a handsome young man in azure clothes. He was tall and handsome, and his eyes were clear and bright. He had a restrained aura, and when his gaze met, it caused the hearts of all the youths to tremble as if they were struck by lightning. It's him, Zhao Feng stared at the youth. He knew this person. Ah! Zhao Yufei was slightly surprised. The green-robed man in the lead was Yi Linyun, who had personally come to Sun Feather City. After entering the Guanjuan province city, Zhao Feng and Lei Zong were a month apart from Yi Linyun. Behind Yi Linyun were 2 youths. One was smiling and the other was stiff and silent. Nan Gongfan. Bei moi. Feng Hanyue and Lei Zong's hearts jumped. Why are they here? Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. He had interacted with Nan Gongfan and Bei moi before, so he knew how terrifying these 2 were. Bei moi's cultivation was at the peak of the 8th rank and he had even killed cultivators of the 9th rank. Compared to these 2 super geniuses, the young geniuses of the 10 Sky Guards paled in comparison. Brother Yi is here too. 3rd guard smiled as he stood up to greet Yi Linyun. The 2 greeted each other and sat down. Zhao Feng realized that Yi Linyun's seat was even in front of 3rd guard. Master Yi Linyun is also Lord Guanjuan's disciple? Zhao Feng was shocked. At this time, he realized that Yi Linyun's gaze landed on him with a friendly smile. It was obvious that Yi Linyun had high hopes for Zhao Feng. Master's goal in coming out of seclusion this time is to confirm 1 or 2 personal disciples. There's no hope for the 2 of us. Yi Linyun and 3rd guard started to talk. Core disciple. The youths of the 10 Sky Guardians were puzzled. Don't be surprised. Me, Master Yi and Brother Nan Gongfan are all outer disciples. The only true direct disciple is junior brother Bei moi. 3rd guard explained. An unofficial disciple. Zhao Feng and the others were shocked. Yi Linyun and 3rd guard were at least at the 9th rank of the martial path, but they were only Lord Guanjuan's in-name disciples. With Nan Gongfan's cultivation at the 8th rank of the martial path, he was only an outer disciple under Lord Guanjuan. Only Bei Moi was Lord Guanjuan's core disciple. This Bei Moi is only 1 year older than me and his cultivation has reached the peak 8th rank. Only a genius like this has the right to become Lord Guanjuan's core disciple. Zhao Feng could not help but take a deep breath. With Bei Moi's strength, he could easily wipe out the entire Zhao family. No one in the entire Sun Feather City could be his opponent. Even in the Guanjuan province city, he was one of the strongest below Lord Guanjuan. And such a top expert, a super genius, was competing with them in the same era. Many geniuses' eyes dimmed when they saw Bei Moi. If it was 10 years ago, with Nan Gongfan and Feng Hanyue's talent, they would be able to dominate the other geniuses. But with the existence of Bei Moi, the other geniuses were destined to be the sidekicks. At this moment, the other geniuses looked at Bei Moi with envy, jealousy and helplessness. Reporting to the 3rd Guard, Master has ordered us to bring the 10 Sky Guards and the others to the spiritual martial hall. A shadowy figure appeared in front of the door of the pavilion like a ghost. It was a Guanjuan Corps member, half kneeling on the ground. There were 18 people in the Guanjuan Corps, but the top 3 were all at the peak of the martial path and were also the leaders of the Guanjuan Corps. Spiritual Martial Hall. Yi Linyun and 3rd Guard looked at each other with shock on their faces. The Spiritual Martial Hall was the core of the Guanjuan Palace, and it was also the place where Lord Guanjuan cultivated. Normally, no one was allowed to enter the Spiritual Martial Hall, even Lord Guanjuan's outer disciples couldn't enter without being summoned. Since Master has summoned you to the Spiritual Martial Hall, it looks like he has made up his mind. This is a great opportunity for all of you. Yi Linyun's expression was solemn as he stood up and led the way. The 10 Sky Guards all felt the unusual atmosphere. But they knew that today was a chance for them to change their lives. 3 years ago, Bei Moi and I entered the Spiritual Martial Hall together. In the end, I became Lord Guanjuan's outer disciple and he became Master's core disciple. Nan Gongfan took a deep breath as he glanced at Bei Moi who was beside him. Bei Moi's face was expressionless and he didn't say anything. Thinking back to the time when he entered the Spiritual Martial Hall with Bei Moi, Nan Gongfan still couldn't understand. But ever since that day, his and Bei Moi's fate had changed. Once they became Lord Guanjuan's disciple, even if it was just an outer disciple, they would have an advantage over the other disciples of the big families. Not long after, the group came to an old gray-silver hall in the Guanjuan Palace. This old hall seemed to be empty, giving off a deathly silent feeling. Stepping into the hall, they couldn't see a single person. Only Zhao Feng could see 3 to 4 Guanjuan Corps hidden in the shadows if he opened his left eye to the maximum. Master, they're here. Grandmaster Yi Linyun stood at the entrance of a large hall and said respectfully, "Come in." A deep and powerful voice sounded from the depths of the hall. The voice seemed to come from the clouds and it didn't have any aura, but it made everyone feel as if they were looking at the stars. The 10 Sky Guards were breathing heavily and their hearts were tense. Their hearts were filled with apprehension and respect. Every step they took felt like they were getting closer to heaven. Zhao Feng was excited and a warm feeling came from the depths of his left eye. At this moment, he didn't even dare to open his left eye. Because before he stepped into the hall, his left eye had sensed an invisible aura that came from a powerful being deep within the hall. Their every move seemed to be under the control of the being. Da-da! Da-da! The group of youths entered the hall uneasily. Even Nan Gongfan and Bei Moi who were Lord Guanjuan's disciples had solemn expressions on their faces. In the empty hall, there was only one person sitting on a futon. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have realized that there was a person sitting in the hall. A middle-aged man dressed in a silver robe with golden patterns sat cross-legged on a praying mat. His figure was sharp, and his facial features were regular. His eyes were slightly closed, and he looked like an ordinary person. From head to toe, one could not feel the pressure of a martial artist's aura. At first glance, he seemed to be an ordinary person who had not stepped into the martial Tao. It was hard to imagine that this middle-aged man was the legendary Lord Guanjuan of the Cloud Country. Master, the 10 most outstanding Sky Guards of the Sky Guards Battalion are all here. Third guard bowed and said, "Good." Lord Guanjuan nodded his head slowly as he opened his eyes and waved his hand. The moment he opened his eyes, everyone met his deep, pitch-black eyes. They were like an endless ocean, boundless and limitless. Zhao Feng had a strong visual impact as Lord Guanjuan opened his eyes and raised his hand. It was as if he had merged with the surroundings and released a suffocating aura. The moment he waved his hand, it was like a king waving his hand and everyone was seated. Yi Linyun, Third Guard, Bei Moi and Nan Gongfan all sat on futons near Lord Guanjuan. The 10 sky guards and the other youths sat on 10 futons. The seats were arranged according to the ranking of the 10 sky guards. First was Feng Hanyue, second was Lei Tsong, third was Lu Xiaoyu, and 10th was Zhao Feng. They were arranged like this. "Master, there are a few geniuses in this generation of the Sky Guards battalion," Third Guard said in a low voice. Lord Guanjuan's face was expressionless as he looked at the 10 Sky Guards. Ah! In that instant, the hearts of the 10 Sky Guards shook as if they had been struck by lightning. Zhao Feng felt that Lord Guanjuan's gaze was like a bolt of lightning that flashed across his mind, making him feel as if his brain had short-circuited. In the blink of an eye, Lord Guanjuan saw the cultivation of the 10 Sky Guards with one glance. Zhao Feng felt as if his body had been pierced through. He had a feeling that even if his deadwood breathing technique was trained to the max level, it would still be impossible for him to hide his cultivation in front of Lord Guanjuan. Luckily, he didn't hide his cultivation in front of Lord Guanjuan in order to perform better. "You're slightly stronger than before, but it's a pity that none of you have the right to become my core disciple." Lord Guanjuan's face was expressionless as if he was talking about a normal thing. But Zhao Feng's left eye still saw the disappointment in Lord Guanjuan's eyes even though he didn't intentionally use it. Boom! The 10 heavenly guards felt as if they had been thrown from heaven into the abyss. Lord Guanjuan's voice had clearly expressed that none of the geniuses of the 10 sky guards were worthy of his attention. How can this be? Yi Linyun and Third Guard were both shocked and in disbelief. In their eyes, although the geniuses of the Sky Guards battalion weren't as monstrous as Bei Moi, they were still geniuses. Especially Feng Hanyue and Zhao Feng, they were both of the 7th rank of the martial path even though they were young. "Master, how can you be sure if you don't try?" Yi Linyun cautiously said as he looked at Zhao Feng with anticipation on his face. "That's right, Feng Hanyue's cultivation is at the peak 7th rank of the martial path and he's not any weaker than Lu Xiaoyan. Zhao Feng is the youngest and he's also at the 7th rank of the martial path. In terms of memory, he's even better than Bei Moi." The wooden-faced young man couldn't bear it and also tried to persuade him. After all, these geniuses were personally trained and painstakingly fostered by him. Chapter 83. Inside the hall, the 10 Sky Guardians were extremely nervous and uneasy. Even Yi Linyun and Third Guard's expressions were tense. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. He couldn't believe that none of the 10 Sky Guards had the right to become Lord Guanjuan's core disciple. The 9 stages of the martial path are essentially the process of building one's foundation, or even just the beginning. At this stage, cultivation and strength were not of much use as a reference. No matter how strong you are, if you can't surpass this level, you're just an ant. Lord Guanjuan's voice resounded in the hall. He didn't purposely release any aura, but it had the aura of a king looking down on the heavens. The youths present didn't really understand what Lord Guanjuan was saying. Only a few of them understood the meaning behind Lord Guanjuan's words. According to what he said, the 9 ranks of the martial path are just a foundation. In this foundation, no matter how strong you are, if you can't surpass this level, then it's useless. Zhao Feng seemed to understand something. He remembered the conversation he had with Master Yi Linyun a month ago. Yi Linyun had also said that the essence of the 9 stages of the martial path was to cultivate the body. From the skin, flesh, blood, to the bones and organs, not a single one of them had not been cleansed. Therefore, pursuing the strength of inner strength was actually putting the cart before the horse. At that time, Zhao Feng had remembered it and realized that the true purpose of the 9 ranks of the martial path wasn't to kill enemies. These words matched Lord Guanjuan's words perfectly. After all, Yi Linyun was an outer disciple of Lord Guanjuan. If I may be so bold as to ask, if cultivation and strength aren't important in the 9th stage of the martial path, then what is truly meaningful? Feng Hanyue stood up and bowed respectfully. When he asked this question, cold sweat appeared on his back. The other youths of the 10 Sky Guards were sweating for him, they admired his courage. On the other hand, Yi Linyun and 3rd Guard had admiration in their eyes. Lord Guanjuan's expression was calm, he seemed to have a good impression of Feng Hanyue as he smiled faintly. In the foundation, strength isn't important. What's important is the future, a future that allows you to walk further. Future. A limitless future where he could walk even further. Zhao Feng realized that Lord Guanjuan's worldview wasn't something that they could compare to. For example, a martial artist at the basic stage, no matter how high his cultivation was, if he couldn't break through to the level of 7th tier master and didn't have the potential, he wouldn't have much value in the eyes of the top powerhouses. This meant that Lord Guanjuan had seen through the potential of the 10 Sky Guards. Therefore, Lord Guanjuan didn't care much about his current cultivation. Of course, those with potential would definitely be stronger than others of the same level. This was also the reason why he chose disciples from the 10 Sky Guards. That being said, the test is still needed. Lord Guanjuan said as he took out a fist-sized crystal ball. This crystal ball was crystal clear, and its material was very special. Under his signal, Bainhua took the crystal ball and walked in front of the 10 Sky Guards. This is it. Nan Gongfan's heart jumped. Back then, when he and Bainhua first entered the spiritual martial hall, Lord Guanjuan had also taken out this strange crystal ball. Lord Guanjuan said, "This is a special item that can test the potential of a martial artist. Based on it, I can roughly estimate how much potential and hope you have in the future." Hearing this, the crowd of youths were shocked, and their hearts were even more uncertain. There's such a thing in the world that can even test a person's potential. Zhao Feng was slightly interested. Right at this moment, Bainhua passed the crystal ball to Feng Hanyue, the first of the Sky Guards. Close your eyes and focus on the crystal ball in your hand. Insert some inner strength into it. Lord Guanjuan ordered. Yes, Lord Guanjuan. Feng Hanyue took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Focusing all his attention on the crystal ball, he injected a strand of inner strength into his hand. Woo! The inside of the crystal ball glowed with rings of white light. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3 circles. 5 circles. The 5th halo, however, had turned into a light cyan color, which was completely different from the previous 4 white halos. Surpassing the 4th circle means that your potential exceeds the limits of a mortal body. You're passable, but if you want to become my personal disciple, it's still not enough. Lord Guanjuan evaluated. Hearing this, Feng Hanyue's expression dimmed. His talent was higher than all the other geniuses in the Sky Guards battalion, but in Lord Guanjuan's eyes, he was barely passable. If Feng Hanyue was like this, then the other geniuses were even more worried. Soon, it was Lei Tsong's turn. Lei Tsong's hands were sweating as he took over the crystal ball. He finally focused and injected inner strength into it. Circles of white light appeared inside the crystal ball. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3 circles, 4 circles. At the 4th circle, the white light stopped and the other colors didn't appear. Your talent has reached the peak of mortals, but it's still not enough for me. Lord Guanjuan shook his head. How could this be? Lei Tsong's face went gray as if he had lost his soul. His evaluation was much lower than Feng Hanyue's. At least Feng Hanyue's evaluation was passable from Lord Guanjuan's mouth. Next was Lu Xiaoyu. It's my turn. Lu Xiaoyu was no longer as relaxed as he usually was. His expression was extremely serious as he focused his mind on the crystal ball. On the crystal ball, 3 circles of white light appeared and it expanded by half an inch, reaching 3.5 circles. 3.5 circles was half a circle lower than Lei Tsong's 4. High-tier mortal bodies are considered geniuses among mortals. But on the world stage, it's far from enough. Lord Guanjuan continued to shake his head. After Feng Hanyue, two people couldn't even reach Lord Guanjuan's minimum standards. Lu Xiaoyu and Lei Zong's talent would be top tier in the three families of Sun Feather City, but they're so worthless here. Zhao Feng's heart shook. He was also thinking, what was the real-world stage that Lord Guanjuan was talking about? After Lu Xiaoyu's turn, it was Zhao Yufei's turn. Zhao Yufei's eyelashes fluttered as she closed her eyes and her consciousness entered the crystal ball. Woo, circles of light appeared within the crystal ball, but it wasn't stable. It fluctuated 2 to 3 circles, then 4 to 5, and the color was a bit messy. It wasn't the normal white or green color. Lord Guanjuan went into deep thought. Zhao Yufei's situation was different from the other youths. Could it be that her body is different from others? Zhao Feng thought. Lord Guanjuan thought for a while before saying, your body is special, but it shouldn't be any weaker than Feng Hanyue's. Zhao Yufei couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief when she received such an evaluation. After Zhao Yufei's turn, it was the turn of the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the next few youths couldn't even reach Lord Guanjuan's bottom line. It's my turn. Huang Qi's hands trembled as he took the crystal ball from Beimuo's hands. Soon, the light on the crystal ball reached the 3.5 layer. His talent was the same as Lu Xiaoyu's and he would be one of the top geniuses in the Sky Guards battalion. But in Lord Guanjuan's eyes, it wasn't enough. Failed. Huang Qi was slightly depressed. He was once the top genius of Pearl Forest City and he thought that he would be able to show off his skills, but he couldn't even reach Lord Guanjuan's standards. After Huang Qi's test, it was Li Ziwen's turn. Li Ziwen was the tattooed youth. He had been in the same team as Lu Xiaoyu during the bandit suppression mission. Li Ziwen was even more nervous, his body was trembling and he couldn't concentrate. Paw! Beimuo's palm landed on his body and Li Ziwen's blood stopped flowing. Li Ziwen's test didn't have any suspense and the light on the crystal ball stopped at the 3rd foot. Next. Lord Guanjuan said expressionlessly. Next. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat, it was his turn. The last of the 10 Sky Guards was Zhao Feng. At this time, everyone's gazes landed on him. At this moment, Zhao Feng could feel the confidence and expectation in Zhao Yufei's eyes. Yi Linyun and 3rd Guard also had smiles on their faces as they looked towards Zhao Feng. They had high hopes for Zhao Feng's potential. After all, Zhao Feng was one of the youngest of the 10 Sky Guards, but his cultivation was at the 7th rank of the martial path. Before this, Zhao Feng had come first in the mission and his memory was even better than Beimuo's. Beimuo handed the crystal ball over to Zhao Feng with interest in his eyes. He had a good impression of Zhao Feng, the latter was the only genius who had a better memory than him. After losing to Zhao Feng that day, he felt depressed. Now, he wanted to see how talented Zhao Feng was. Master, he's the genius who has a better memory than Beimuo and he came first in the mission. He's also the youngest of the 10 Sky Guards. The wooden youth said in a low voice. Oh? Lord Guanjuan's eyes flashed with interest. Under everyone's gaze, Zhao Feng took the crystal ball and took a deep breath, concentrating as he inserted a small amount of inner strength into it. Woo! Within the crystal ball, the white light extended to the 1st circle. What's going on? Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat as he realized that after the 1st circle, the speed of the white light suddenly slowed down. Even if he concentrated with all his might, the white halo could barely extend to 1.5 circles. When it was close to 2 circles, almost instantly. Everyone present was slightly taken aback. Zhao Feng's talent shouldn't be any weaker than Feng Hanyue's. The wooden-faced youth and Yi Linyun were both stunned. Lord Guanjuan was slightly disappointed and was about to speak. Pa-pa! Pa-pa! Zhao Feng suddenly felt his left eye twitch and a warmth spread to his limbs. Woo! The white halo, which had almost stopped, continued to extend forward, completely reaching 2 circles. After 2 circles, the white light continued to extend, 2.5 circles, 3 circles, 3.5 circles. Chapter 84. Everyone's attention was attracted by the crystal ball in Zhao Feng's hand. In particular, the white aperture inside the crystal ball, which had almost paused for a moment, accelerated forward again. This change made everyone's heart skip a beat. Lord Guanjuan swallowed the words he was about to say. Zhao Feng's change had almost made him misjudge him. This was the first time he had seen something like this. Only Zhao Feng knew that under normal circumstances, his talent couldn't surpass 2 rings. He was worse than all the geniuses here. After all, the Sky Guards battalion had many geniuses from different cities and they were already better than most of the geniuses in Sun Feather City. Not to mention that the 10 Sky Guards were the elites of the Sky Guards battalion. 2.5 circles, 3 circles, 3.5 circles. Under the heat of his left eye, the light in the crystal ball reached 3.5 circles and it was still expanding. 3.5 circles, 4 circles, 4.5 circles. Many people on the field held their breaths. Reaching 4.5 circles was the highest talent amongst the 10 Sky Guards apart from Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei. After all, Feng Hanyue's talent was also at 5 circles. Zhao Feng realized that 5 circles was a huge gap. But after reaching 4.5 circles, the white light slowed down and the beating in his left eye stabilized. 4.5 circles. 5 circles. A 5th light circle extended from the crystal ball. It was faintly discernible in light green. This was the limit of what Zhao Feng could achieve after concentrating. Of course, this concentration didn't mean that he could open his left eye. Because of Lord Guanjuan's presence, Zhao Feng didn't dare open his left eye. Zhao Feng had a feeling that if he opened his left eye, the circle of the crystal ball would continue to expand. The 5th circle is faintly visible, slightly weaker than Feng Hanyue's. This should be a half-spiritual body. Lord Guanjuan's expression returned back to normal as he said. It was obvious that Zhao Feng's talent was only below Feng Hanyue's, at least it didn't give Lord Guanjuan any surprises. Half-spiritual body? That's all there is to it. Bainhua took back the crystal ball from Zhao Feng's hand and shook his head with a trace of disappointment in his eyes. Obviously, Zhao Feng's aptitude was slightly lower than he had expected. No matter what, Zhao Feng was a genius who could surpass him in terms of memory. Thus, Bainhua had a higher estimation of Zhao Feng. After Zhao Feng's test was over, the 10 Sky Guards were also done. Most of them were disheartened. "Master, which ones are you going to choose?" the wooden youth asked. "These people are far from being qualified to be my personal disciples." Lord Guanjuan shook his head. Up until now, the only person that he was satisfied with and accepted as his direct disciple was Bainhua. Hearing this, the 10 heavenly guards felt depressed and bitter. But the geniuses of the Sky Guards battalion this time are indeed much stronger than before. Among these 10 people, there are a few who can be accepted as registered disciples. Lord Guanjuan's words suddenly changed. An unofficial disciple? The eyes of Feng Hanyue and the others lit up. Although it wasn't possible to become Lord Guanjuan's personal disciple, an unofficial disciple was a dream that many cultivators could only dream of. Lord Guanjuan was a legend in the Cloud Country, even some martial masters couldn't meet him and learn from him. If they could become Lord Guanjuan's unofficial disciple, then they would have the chance to learn from Lord Guanjuan face to face. Furthermore, Yi Linyun and Wooden Youth were only Lord Guanjuan's unofficial disciples. Unofficial disciples? "Master, which ones are you going to choose?" Yi Linyun asked. "These two both have a spiritual body, so it's not a problem for them to become my unofficial disciples." Lord Guanjuan's gaze landed on Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei respectively. "Then what about Zhao Feng?" "He's the youngest, but his cultivation is very high. His memory is better than Bainhua's and he also came first in battle." Yi Linyun quickly said. Zhao Feng was a genius that he had brought from Sun Feather City and he was full of expectations towards this youth. With his half-spiritual body, it's a bit far-fetched, Lord Guanjuan thought. But seeing Yi Linyun and Wooden Youth praise Zhao Feng, he couldn't help but smile. Oh well, I'll count him in. Accepting 3 disciples in one go has broken this marquis's record. With Lord Guanjuan's final decision, Yi Linyun and Wooden Youth let out a breath of relief as they looked at Zhao Feng with smiles on their faces. Zhao Feng also looked at the two gratefully. Master, you won't regret taking him in as your disciple. Yi Linyun said confidently. Oh? Lord Guanjuan didn't say anything. He didn't understand where Yi Linyun's confidence came from. Yi Linyun didn't explain, but he remembered the aura that Zhao Feng gave off when he was practicing in the Zhao clan hall. This was something that most cultivators of the 9th rank couldn't do. Furthermore, Zhao Feng was only of the 5th rank at that time. Feng Hanyue, Zhao Yufei, Zhao Feng, from today onwards, you 3 will be Lord Guanjuan's outer disciples. Wooden Youth announced. Feng Hanyue and the other 2 quickly bowed to Lord Guanjuan. It's just outer disciples, you don't need to be so formal. Lord Guanjuan smiled faintly. His gaze swept past Zhao Feng and the other 2 before landing on his core disciple Beimoi. Zhao Feng and the others all knew that outer disciples could only occasionally receive pointers from their master. They wouldn't be able to truly inherit the master's legacy. Sometimes, outer disciples only had the title of master and disciple, they didn't have a true inheritance. The only person that Lord Guanjuan really cared about was his core disciple Beimoi, and he would teach him everything he knew. After the recruitment, the other 7 disciples of the 10 Sky Guards left one after another. Soon, only Lord Guanjuan and the other disciples were left in the hall. Yi Linyun and the Wooden Youth had their own matters to attend to, so they left one after another. Now, only Beimoi, Nan Gongfan, Feng Hanyue, Zhao Yufei and Zhao Feng were left in the hall. Today, the 3 of you have just become my disciples. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Lord Guanjuan said. Questions? Feng Hanyue's face was filled with excitement, while Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei were also slightly moved. Facing the legendary figure of the Cloud Country, they naturally had many questions to ask. Master, what is a spiritual body? The first to ask was Feng Hanyue. Spiritual body, mortal body. This was something that Zhao Feng had heard Lord Guanjuan mention before. There are hundreds of billions of people on this continent, and when they are born, the heavens decide their body constitution. Among them, 99% of them are normal people and their bodies are also normal. We call them mortal bodies. Lord Guanjuan first explained the concept of mortal bodies. Hearing this, Zhao Feng couldn't help but understand. Most of the people in the world had normal bodies, which was called mortal bodies. For example, before merging with the mysterious Left Eye, Zhao Feng had a mortal body. But after merging with the mysterious Left Eye, his body constitution and bloodline had been changed, which allowed him to barely surpass the mortal body and become a half-spiritual body. Mortal bodies are split into low, middle, high and limit. This means that there are differences in body constitution even amongst normal people. In the test just then, 1 circle meant low, 2 meant middle, and so on. 4 circles meant the limit of a mortal body. Lord Guanjuan continued. What he said was something that Zhao Feng had never heard before. 4 circles meant the limit of a mortal body, which was Lei Tsong's talent. Surpassing 4 circles and reaching the 5th circle means that one has surpassed the limit of a normal body constitution, which is the category of spiritual bodies. In terms of cultivation, spirit bodies had a unique advantage, and their aptitude far surpassed that of ordinary people. With the guidance of a master, it's only a matter of time before they reach the holy martial path. Lord Guanjuan finally finished explaining the concepts of mortal body and spiritual body. This broadened Zhao Feng's knowledge. He estimated that the number 1 genius of the Zhao clan, Zhao Linlong, was at most 3.5 circles and his talent was between a high and limit mortal body. Next, Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei asked Lord Guanjuan a few questions. Zhao Yufei asked, Master, is there a higher realm above the holy martial path? After this question was asked, Zhao Feng was also interested. When they were in Sun Feather City, They only knew that the 9th rank of the martial path was the limit and the holy martial path was a legend. Facing Lord Guanjuan now, Zhao Feng guessed that the latter's cultivation had reached the holy martial path. Then, was there a higher realm above the holy martial path? Yes. Light flashed in Lord Guanjuan's eyes as he said, but it's not a level that you can reach. Hearing this, Zhao Feng and the others were interested. There was a higher realm above the holy martial path and even Lord Guanjuan didn't dare to talk about it. After a while, it was Zhao Feng's turn to ask a question. What should I focus on the most in the 9 ranks of the martial path? Zhao Feng first asked a question about the martial path. The body is the most important. The goal of the 9 ranks of the martial path is to strengthen the body, bones and organs. The true use of inner strength isn't to kill, but to strengthen the body. Many cultivators go astray on this point. Lord Guanjuan smiled. As expected. Zhao Feng was now certain of his previous conclusion. He couldn't help but feel lucky that he had chosen silver wall technique at the St. Martial restaurant. May I ask, Master, what is your goal in finding geniuses and raising them? Zhao Feng finally asked the question in his heart. When he had just entered the Guanjuan Palace, he had heard of how much Lord Guanjuan valued geniuses and would often send people to search for them. He and Zhao Yufei had been found by the Guanjuan Corps and reported to Lord Guanjuan. Master Yi Linyun had personally come to pick them up. Zhao Feng's question made Lord Guanjuan pause for a second before a light flashed across his eyes. In that instant, the entire hall seemed to be pressured by an invisible aura. Zhao Feng and the others felt an invisible pressure that made their minds tremble. Lord Guanjuan didn't do anything, not even a trace of his aura was leaked out, but the mental pressure made their hearts tremble. Fortunately, this kind of aura only lasted for a moment. It was very short. Even so, cold sweat appeared on the foreheads of Feng Hanyue and the others. Zhao Feng. What kind of question is this? It has nothing to do with cultivation. Master takes in geniuses from all over the world because he loves them. Do you think Master has an ulterior motive? Nan Gongfan's face was filled with anger as he yelled. Chapter 85. Zhao Feng. What kind of question is this? It has nothing to do with cultivation. Master is taking in geniuses from all over the world. Do you think Master has some ulterior motives? Nan Gongfan's face was filled with anger as he yelled. Zhao Feng's question also made Bei Moi and Feng Hanyue furrow their eyebrows. Indeed, Zhao Feng's question was a little weird. Although it wasn't a questioning, it had nothing to do with cultivation. Zhao Feng also realized that this question was a bit off topic. This is the first time someone has asked me this question. Lord Guanjuan's expression returned to normal as he glanced at Zhao Feng. With his magnanimity, he obviously wouldn't get angry over something like this, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to reach his current height. Master sure is generous. Nan Gongfan and the others let out a breath of relief. Lord Guanjuan didn't reprimand him. Hearing Zhao Feng's words, the geniuses in the hall were also interested. Nan Gongfan, Feng Hanyue and the others were all smart geniuses. Lord Guanjuan's actions of raising geniuses couldn't be purely out of love, there had to be a reason behind it. Lord Guanjuan slowly stood up with his hands behind his back and sighed lightly. His gaze slowly floated into the distance, as if there was a whole new world in his eyes that no one knew about. His thoughts drifted further and further away at that moment, passing through the time and space of the past. Zhao Feng's left eye caught the emotions in Lord Guanjuan's eyes. In that soft sigh, Zhao Feng saw sadness, helplessness, regret, determination, hope, and other complex emotions in his eyes. It was as if in that moment, Lord Guanjuan had gone through the cycle of life. These years, I've been searching for and raising geniuses, all for a wish. It's a wish that I can't achieve myself, I can only leave it to the younger generation. Lord Guanjuan sighed as his gaze swept across the geniuses in the hall, especially when it landed on Bei Moi's face. A hint of hope appeared on his face. A wish? A wish that even Lord Guanjuan couldn't fulfill? The geniuses in the hall exchanged glances with one another in utter shock. The geniuses, including Beimois, were extremely curious. One had to know that Lord Guanjuan stood at the peak of the Cloud Country and there weren't many people who could stand on the same level as him. In some people's eyes, Lord Guanjuan was a legend in the Cloud Country. If such a giant figure couldn't do it, then who else could? What is Lord Guanjuan's wish? Zhao Feng was getting more and more curious. He didn't believe that there was anything in this world that the other party couldn't do. He estimated that Lord Guanjuan was most likely a holy martial path cultivator, and if he surpassed martial masters, he would be given the title of martial grandmaster. Therefore, it was the wish of a saint stage grandmaster. You guys can leave first. Lord Guanjuan sighed as he waved his hands and sat back down, leaving only his core disciple Beimois behind. Don't worry, master. Your disciple will work hard to help you achieve your wish. Beimois said respectfully. I'm happy that you're willing to help me. From today onwards, I'll teach you some skills. Lord Guanjuan smiled. Today, there were 10 geniuses in the spiritual martial hall participating in the talent test. Without a doubt, Feng Hanyue and the others' talent had already surpassed mortals and they were indeed geniuses. However, compared to his core disciple Beimois, their talent was nothing. Outside the spiritual martial hall, Lord Guanjuan's core disciples walked out of the hall. Brother Zhao, you've got guts to ask such a question. You have to understand that even masters in the 9th stage of the martial path tremble in fear in front of master. Nan Gongfan said with a tone of a senior scolding a junior. Indeed, he had entered the sect earlier than Zhao Feng and his cultivation was higher than Zhao Feng and the others. Thank you for your concern. Zhao Feng said calmly. He had just become Lord Guanjuan's outer disciple and although he didn't want to offend Nan Gongfan, he wouldn't listen to him. Zhao Feng's actions made Nan Gongfan slightly unhappy, but he couldn't do anything about it, so he could only remember it. On the other hand, it was Zhao Yufei who got a lot of information from Nan Gongfan. Nan Gongfan said, let me remind you that Brother Beimois has great talent and master values him the most. Although he looks old-fashioned, he's actually very arrogant and doesn't allow others to beat him in anything. So don't compete with him. Hearing him say this, Zhao Feng had the same feeling. That day in the Sky Guards battalion, Beimois was obviously unhappy that he beat him in memory. Senior brother Nangong, may I ask how great Beimois' talent is to be accepted as a direct disciple by master? Feng Hanyue said unhappily. Even though he was the top genius of the Sky Guards battalion, he didn't have the right to become Lord Guanjuan's core disciple. Feng Hanyue was also a prideful person and he didn't believe that anyone in the same generation could surpass him. If you saw Beimois' performance, you wouldn't say this. Nan Gongfan's laughter had a hint of mockery and jealousy in it. How many laps did Brother Beimois do? Zhao Yufei asked curiously. In order to become Lord Guanjuan's outer disciples, they had to do around 5 laps. My result was 5.5 laps. Nan Gongfan's face was full of reminiscence as he recalled the time he entered the spiritual martial hall with Beimois 3 years ago. 5.5 laps? That's more than us. Feng Hanyue's expression changed as the unfairness in his heart disappeared. Zhao Feng also had a weird expression on his face. Nan Gongfan's talent was indeed better than the 10 Sky Guards and even Feng Hanyue was slightly inferior. However, compared to junior brother Beimois, my performance in the test is insignificant. Brother Beimois' result was 8.5 laps. Nan Gongfan took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with helplessness and unwillingness, as well as a trace of jealousy. 8.5 laps. Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei were both dumbfounded. Zhao Feng's heart shook slightly. 8.5 rings, this was an unimaginable talent that could be called monstrous. No wonder Beimois could become Lord Guanjuan's core disciple. At this moment, the other geniuses realized the difference between them and Beimois. Leaving the spiritual martial hall, Zhao Feng, Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei returned to the Sky Guards battalion. From today onwards, they would leave the Sky Guards battalion and enter the Guanjuan Palace as Lord Guanjuan's disciples. Congratulations to the two of you for becoming Lord Guanjuan's disciples. Don't forget about me in the future. Huang Qi's face was filled with envy, and there was a hint of jealousy in his tone. At this moment, Huang Qi couldn't help but sigh. When he first met Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei, he didn't put them in his eyes at all. But now, fate had changed again and again under the push of fate. Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei had both surpassed him and become Lord Guanjuan's disciple, surpassing his level. After settling down in the Sky Guards battalion, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei went to say goodbye to 3rd Guard. Brothers and sisters, we'll be under the same master in the future, you can find me if you need anything. 3rd Guard smiled faintly. May I ask for your name? Zhao Feng still didn't know 3rd Guard's name. Being a Guanjuan Corps member, I only have the code 3rd Guard, that's my name. You can call me 3rd Guard. 3rd Guard was as mysterious as ever. Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei were slightly surprised as they bid farewell to 3rd Guard. Becoming a disciple of Lord Guanjuan meant that the treatment they would receive would be better than most people in the Guanjuan Palace. On the same day, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei moved into a building in the Guanjuan Palace, saying goodbye to the tattered tents and wooden houses of the Sky Guards battalion. There were 2 guards at the door of the building that Zhao Feng was staying in, and they were both martial warriors. Greetings, young Master Zhao. The 2 guards bowed. Greetings, Master. There were 7 to 8 servants under Zhao Feng's name, and they were all very respectful. In the courtyard, there was a small garden that emitted a fragrant scent. The 3-story pavilion was luxurious and noble. This treatment is even better than the elders of the Zhao clan. Zhao Feng clicked his tongue. Half a year ago, he was still a martial disciple. How could he have ever thought that a martial disciple would actually be his own guard? Becoming Lord Guanjuan's disciple meant that he would get 20 to 30,000 silver a month, and he could also enjoy some cultivation resources for free, such as pills, and body-strengthening powder, etc. After moving into the new building, Zhao Feng took a bath at night and started to cultivate. Returning breath technique was one of the things he had to do every night. Circulating returning breath technique a few times, Zhao Feng then focused on silver wall technique. Silver wall technique was the only holy martial art he had, and it could greatly increase his strength. Zhao Feng thought back to what Lord Guanjuan had said during the day. The purpose of the 9 ranks of the martial path is to strengthen the body, bones and organs. The true use of inner strength isn't to kill enemies, but to strengthen the body. Many martial warriors have gone astray on this point. It wasn't hard to see that the 9 ranks of the martial path focused on the body and foundation. This made Zhao Feng even more determined to learn silver wall technique. Once silver wall technique reached the 10th level, his body would be able to enter the holy realm, and he wouldn't even need to worry about breaking through to the holy realm. For the next few days, Zhao Feng focused on silver wall technique and returning breath technique. Other martial arts such as star finger and smoking transparent step were secondary. But silver wall technique was a holy martial art after all, and after Zhao Feng reached the 6th rank, his progress became much slower. Furthermore, body tempering martial arts required the most time and arduous cultivation. It was difficult to take shortcuts and required one to take one step at a time. Body tempering techniques can speed up one's cultivation speed with the help of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as body tempering liquids. Zhao Feng's thoughts turned. He couldn't help but check his belongings and found that there were 300,000 to 400,000 silver bills in his pocket. So much. Zhao Feng was slightly dazed, but he soon realized that these silver bills were from the bandits he had killed that day. Just killing the leader of the 7th rank alone gave him 300,000 silver bills. When Zhao Feng uttered these 4 terms, the eyebrows of 1 or 2 nearby apothecaries twitched. Bone refining and muscle strengthening powder, one of the best body strengthening medicines. 1 packet costs at least 39,000 silvers. A nearby martial artist blurted out involuntarily. Zhao Feng had named 3 packets of such luxurious medicines in one breath. Furthermore, the other pills that he named were extremely precious. Ordinary people might not even have one of them in their entire lives. "Kid, are you sure you're not joking?" A middle-aged apothecary slowly walked over and said with a deep voice. This apothecary's cultivation had reached the 6th layer of the martial path. The faint aura emitted from his body attracted the attention of the customers nearby. Apothecary Mu. The apprentices and apothecaries nearby wore respectful expressions. The commotion instantly attracted the attention of many people in the medicine pavilion. "Joking? I'm not in the mood for that." Zhao Feng was stunned for a moment, before he let out a smile. Master Mu slowly walked over and said with a calm expression, "Kid, these are all precious medicines. The total price is around 400,000 silvers. Are you sure you want to buy them?" It was obvious that Apothecary Mu didn't believe that Zhao Feng had that much money. He even thought that Zhao Feng was an unreasonable kid. 400,000 silvers. The nearby customers couldn't help but gasp. They didn't expect that a 14-year-old boy could casually order a few items that were worth around 400,000 silvers. "I'm sure." Zhao Feng's expression didn't change as he stared straight into Apothecary Mu's eyes. He was being unreasonable. Apothecary Mu was displeased and a hint of anger appeared on his face. A transaction of this price would normally require the upper echelons of the medicine pavilion to personally make a deal with an esteemed guest. Even though Apothecary Mu didn't say anything, his aura of the 6th layer of the martial path made it hard for the nearby cultivators and martial disciples to breathe. "Do you think that I'm not qualified?" Zhao Feng's voice turned cold as he circulated his internal force. An invisible aura suddenly appeared and suppressed everything within a few meters. In that instant, the surrounding air seemed to be compressed. The nearby apothecaries and customers felt a sense of suffocation, as if they were in a whirlpool. Apothecary Mu's heart trembled and his entire body stiffened. It was as if his internal force had been suppressed and he couldn't even muster the will to resist. Luckily, the invisible aura only lasted for a breath's time before everything returned to normal. Only 8 people in the vicinity felt it. Those further away didn't even notice it. "What's going on?" An apprentice alchemist had a look of fear on his face. He still hadn't figured out what was going on. Apothecary Mu's back was drenched in cold sweat. He took a deep breath and said with a trembling voice, "I failed to recognize you. Please, go to the VIP room on the 2nd floor." According to the rules of the medicine pavilion, anyone who made a transaction of more than 200,000 silvers would be considered an esteemed guest and could go to the 2nd floor to talk with the deacons. Apothecary Mu's sudden change surprised some people. However, there were a few people who felt the powerful aura that flashed across Zhao Feng's body. They couldn't help but gasp and their expressions became extremely grave. "Marshal Master," one of the 5th stage overlords murmured with a hoarse voice, his face full of shock. However, his voice was so soft that no one else heard him. Those who knew the truth were shocked and dazed, as if they had suffered a great blow. Apothecary Mu looked deeply at Zhao Feng and raised his hand. He had probably never seen such a young martial Dao master in his life. Once one reached the 7th stage of the martial path, he would become a martial master and would be respected and admired by many martial disciples and martial artists. Martial master was not only a symbol of strength, but also a noble title. However, a 14-year-old young man had already reached the level of a martial master. How shocking was this news? "No need. I'm in a hurry. Let's do the transaction here." Zhao Feng shook his head and refused. This put Apothecary Mu in a difficult position. It was rare to see such a customer. However, he couldn't disobey, so he had to do the transaction with Zhao Feng face to face. Bone refining and muscle strengthening powder costs 39,000 taels of silver per pack, 3 packs are 117,000 taels of silver. Blood coagulation and body refining pill costs 32,000 taels of silver each, 3 are 96,000 taels of silver. Qi storage pill costs 44,000 taels of silver each, 2 are 88,000 taels of silver. Yang strengthening pill costs 88,000 taels of silver each. Total 38 1,000 taels of silver. Apothecary Mu reported the total price. 381,000 silvers. Some of the guests and apprentices present were shaken and took in cold breaths. One had to know that all the body parts of a normal vicious beast were only worth 20 to 30,000 silvers. Normally, if a martial artist wanted to slay a fierce beast and enter the depths of the sky cloud forest, they would have to bear the risk of losing their lives. If they ran into a high-level fierce beast, even a small team would be annihilated. Even a martial master wouldn't dare to go too deep into the sky cloud forest and take the risk. After all, someone like Zhao Feng who had the mysterious left eye was an anomaly. Here are the notes. Zhao Feng put a stack of notes on the counter. The amount is correct. Apothecary Mu confirmed the authenticity of the notes. There was a special seal of the 13 Nations Alliance on them. The 13 Nations Alliance was an alliance of 13 nations, including the Cloud Nation and the Maple Fire Nation. This alliance was also known as the 13 Nations Alliance. This was because the 13 nations were surrounded by the Sky Cloud Forest, or were connected to each other. These 13 countries formed an alliance, using a common currency and banknotes to facilitate trade between each other. Soon, Apothecary Mu and a few other apothecaries brought the 4 items for Zhao Feng. 3 packets of bone refining and muscle strengthening powder, 3 blood condensation body refining pills, 2 qi absorption pills, and 1 yang boosting pill. Zhao Feng checked the items one by one and made sure there were no mistakes. The transaction was successful. Zhao Feng nodded in satisfaction and walked out of the medicine pavilion. This young man has such a huge amount of money. Light flashed in the eyes of a few cultivators in the medicine pavilion. 1 or 2 of them had cold expressions on their faces as they followed them out. They didn't know Zhao Feng's true cultivation level and background. Apothecary Mu, that young customer, a student apothecary, saw through it and was slightly worried. Outside the medicine pavilion, the customer's safety has nothing to do with us. And this esteemed guest, be it his cultivation or his background, he's definitely not someone an ordinary person can offend. Apothecary Mu wasn't worried about Zhao Feng's safety. A 14-year-old martial master wasn't something a normal force could create. Even if there was one, he would be recruited by a powerful force. As soon as Zhao Feng walked out of the medicine pavilion, he felt someone following him. He sneered and couldn't be bothered with them. As a member of the Guanjuan Palace and the disciple of Lord Guanjuan, he could do whatever he wanted in the Guanjuan province. That was because his master was the supreme ruler of this region. Greetings, young master. When Zhao Feng entered the Guanjuan Palace, the leader of the guards bowed respectfully. The 8 martial artist level guards, including the leader of the guards, were very respectful. The guards didn't know Zhao Feng's background. But the leader of the guards was a lower-class figure in the Guanjuan Palace and knew Zhao Feng's identity. His tone was filled with flattery. Guanjuan Palace, the 2 martial artists following him felt their hearts skip a beat. Tang! Tang! Their footsteps stopped as they shivered. This was especially true when they saw the guard captain respectfully bow to Zhao Feng. Their hearts were plunged into fear, and their bodies went cold. Guanjuan Palace. This was the highest governing body of this huge county city, and it had jurisdiction over the vast territory of the 12 major cities. And in the Guanjuan Palace, anyone who could be called young master must have a close relationship with that person. Thinking of this, the hearts of the 2 cultivators following Xiao Qin palpitated. They broke out in a cold sweat, feeling a lingering fear. They were just a step away from being consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 87. Guanjuan Palace. Zhao Feng returned to his house and asked the maid to bring him a bucket of hot water. He then poured a packet of bone-strengthening powder into it. The bone-strengthening powder was similar to the body-strengthening powder that Zhao Feng used in the past, but it was much better. It was one of the best medicines for body strengthening. The body strengthening powder was worth 2,000 silvers per packet, but the bone strengthening powder was worth 39,000 silvers per packet. The difference in value was more than 10 times. I've heard that the bone strengthening powder is very useful for body strengthening techniques. I wonder if it will help my silver wall technique. Zhao Feng then soaked himself in the hot liquid. The hot liquid was enough to burn a normal person's skin, but it didn't do any damage to Zhao Feng's body. Gulu! The medicinal liquid suddenly began to boil, and traces of purplish-red waves appeared. It was as if a flower had bloomed, giving off a somewhat enchanting feeling. Zhao Feng felt a burning sensation coming from the surface of his body and slowly seeping into his flesh and bones. What a strong medicine! Cold sweat appeared on Zhao Feng's forehead and his face was filled with pain, but he resisted the urge to cry out. According to the description of the bone-strengthening powder, cultivators of the 7th rank of the martial path had to use it twice, and this was for cultivators of the 7th rank of the martial path. Zhao Feng thought that since he had trained in silver wall technique, it should be easy for him to soak himself in the powder. However, he didn't expect that his body would be able to absorb so much energy from the medicine. Pa! Pa! Zhao Feng felt the warmth coming from his left eye, and his body seemed to turn into ice as he quickly absorbed the energy in the liquid. Zhao Feng's rate of absorbing the medicinal energy was more than twice that of normal cultivators. Therefore, the energy he absorbed was stronger and purer. In the past few hours, Zhao Feng had been suffering unbearable pain both inside and outside of his body. If it was anyone else, they would have collapsed and fainted. However, Zhao Feng's mind was still clear. The mysterious aura from his left eye allowed him to remain calm. Half a day later, Zhao Feng gradually adapted to the intense burning and piercing pain. During this period of time, he slowly circulated the returning vitality chi manual to assist in absorbing the medicinal energy so that every part of his body could absorb it more evenly. The inclusive nature of returning vitality energy manual allowed Zhao Feng's body to absorb the medicinal strength very successfully, and his efficiency was even higher. One day and one night later, Zhao Feng had completely absorbed the efficacy of a packet of bone-refining and tendon-strengthening powder. However, there was still a portion of the medicinal energy remaining in various parts of his body. Zhao Feng spent the next 3 days cultivating the silver wall scripture to refine every part of his body. As expected of a treasure that can assist in refining one's body, Zhao Feng felt that his silver wall technique had improved significantly. Originally, silver wall technique had reached the 6th level, but Zhao Feng's progress had slowed down. It was just like what the wooden-looking young man had said before, Saint-rank body tempering martial arts are easier to learn in the early stages compared to other similar martial arts. But in the later stages, the difficulty is much higher. Luckily, Zhao Feng's body had been modified by the mysterious left eye, which allowed him to absorb the medicinal energy at a high rate. After using the packet of bone-refining powder, Zhao Feng started to consider the other treasured pills, 3 blood-solidifying pills, 2 energy storage pills and 1 body-strengthening pill. Amongst them, the blood-solidifying pill was also a treasure that could strengthen one's physique. From this, it could be seen that most of the items that Zhao Feng bought were for body strengthening. He remembered Lord Guanjuan's words, the most important thing for the 9 ranks of the martial path was the body. Secondly, the energy storage pill was used to increase one's inner strength, which was prepared for the half-holy martial art returning breath technique. The last one was the Yang consolidating vitality boosting pill, worth 80,000 taels. It had the effect of improving the cultivation of a martial Dao master, especially for men who practiced Yang martial arts. Body, inner strength, cultivation. The 4 treasures that Zhao Feng bought were mainly for the above 3. The first one was the most important. Immediately after, Zhao Feng ate a blood-condensing body-strengthening pill. This pill's effect was just as strong, but it could increase the quality of a martial artist's body and strengthen their blood. It took Zhao Feng 2 to 3 days to fully absorb the energy of the pill. After digesting the pill, Zhao Feng felt that his body's strength had increased, and it had a great effect on his silver wall technique. According to the order, the 3rd pill was the energy storage pill. After using the returning breath technique and using the chi storage pill, Zhao Feng felt his inner strength increase by leaps and bounds, much faster than silver wall technique. This made him understand the importance of having a strong foundation. As for the last pill, Zhao Feng didn't take it yet. In the next half a month, Zhao Feng focused on silver wall technique and returning breath technique. Of which, Zhao Feng used 3 packets of bone strengthening powder, 3 blood solidifying pills and 2 energy storage pills. At this time, his silver wall technique had reached the peak of the 6th level. At this level, Zhao Feng's body was like a silver wall, and when he purposely used silver wall technique, a silver light appeared on his body, making him look like an indestructible statue. If I don't use my inner force, I can use the silver wall technique to defend myself against a normal 7th level martial artist. Zhao Feng thought. This was only the 6th level of silver wall technique. If he broke through to the 7th level, he would be able to defeat 7th rank martial masters with just his physique alone, unless his opponent also practiced a holy martial art. Next, Zhao Feng was going to take the last energy storage pill. This pill was worth 80,000 silver, and it could increase the cultivation of 7th or 8th rank martial masters. Zhao Feng left this pill for last because he wanted to create a stronger foundation for his physical body so that he could absorb more of its energy and break through to the next cultivation level. Closing his eyes, Zhao Feng ate the energy storage pill. In the dimension of his left eye, the faint azure light extended to around 7 feet and 2.5 feet. After reaching the 7th rank, Zhao Feng's cultivation speed became extremely slow. The pills from before were mainly used to refine his body, but they didn't have much effect on his cultivation. After eating the energy storage pill, Zhao Feng felt a surge of energy dissolve in his body. It was a warm aura, but it wasn't overbearing. The energy of the pill was slowly released and digested. Zhao Feng used 7 to 8 days to circulate his returning breath technique. He felt that his inner strength was becoming purer and thicker, and his mental energy was increasing. 8 days later, Zhao Feng had basically absorbed the energy of the pill. At this time, the faint azure light in the dimension of his left eye extended to 7 feet and 6.5 feet. After a month of hard work, Zhao Feng's cultivation hadn't reached the peak 7th rank yet. It's hard to imagine that Baimua's cultivation is so close to the 9th stage after reaching the 7th stage. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. Luckily, his silver wall technique had reached the peak 6th level, and he believed that it would take him less than 3 months to reach the 8th rank. Apart from that, Zhao Feng's returning breath technique had reached a certain level, and with the help of the energy storage pill and energy storage pill, his inner strength was almost twice as strong as those of the same rank. Zhao Feng could circulate the inner strength in his body as he breathed, and it far exceeded peak-ranked martial arts in terms of strength and quantity. Having twice as much inner strength as those of the same rank would greatly increase his battle power. With my current strength, I shouldn't be a match for anyone of the 7th rank, and it shouldn't be a problem for me to challenge those of the 8th rank. However, if I meet someone as monstrous as Baimua, I won't have much of a chance. Zhao Feng evaluated his own strength. With his current strength, he could challenge those of the 8th rank, and he even had a chance of winning. But that was only against those of the 8th rank. But for geniuses like Baimua and Nan Gongfan, who were disciples of Lord Guanjuan, most of them had holy or half-holy martial arts, and they could still challenge those of the same rank. For example, Baimua already had the strength to kill a 9th stage martial path cultivator. How terrifying was that? Zhao Feng guessed that Baimua wouldn't be interested in normal half-holy martial arts. After cultivating for a month, Zhao Feng's strength increased by leaps and bounds, and he finally came out of seclusion. Within the courtyard, a servant reported, "Young master, before you went into seclusion, Miss Zhao Yufei and young master Feng Hanyue both came to find you." Oh? Zhao Feng stretched his body as he slowly walked out of the building. Anyway, Zhao Yufei and Feng Hanyue's residences weren't far from his. Soon, Zhao Feng, Zhao Yufei, and Feng Hanyue gathered together. The 3 of them were from the Sky Guards battalion, so they were more familiar with each other. "Brother Zhao, your cultivation must have improved a lot after a month of seclusion." Feng Hanyue faintly smiled with curiosity. I'm still not as good as Brother Feng. Zhao Feng realized that Feng Hanyue's cultivation had almost reached the peak 7th rank, no wonder he was the strongest genius of the Sky Guards battalion. Zhao Yufei's improvement was also extremely fast, and she had already reached the 7th rank. That day, Zhao Yufei and Feng Hanyue's performance in the spiritual martial hall were slightly better than Zhao Feng's. Today, the three of them gathered together to spar and discuss. Zhao Feng didn't reject and sparred with Zhao Yufei and Feng Hanyue. The result was that Feng Hanyue and Zhao Feng were evenly matched, while Zhao Yufei was slightly weaker. During the sparring process, Zhao Feng only used 60 to 70% of his silver wall technique, and the rest of his skills such as star finger and smoking transparent step were held back. But even so, Zhao Feng was shocked by Feng Hanyue's strength. Although he had held back a little, it didn't mean that Feng Hanyue hadn't either. But the one who was truly shocked was Feng Hanyue. In just a month's time, Zhao Feng was able to fight him to a draw. During the sparring, Zhao Feng realized that Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei had learned a few half-holy martial arts. As core disciples of Lord Guanjuan, we can read any half-holy martial arts we want in the Treasury Palace, but we can only take out 10 of them. Feng Hanyue smiled. This news made Zhao Feng overjoyed. No wonder Third Guard and Bei Moi didn't put half-holy martial arts in their eyes. As a disciple of Lord Guanjuan, he had too much of an advantage. Zhao Feng decided that he would go to the Treasury Palace when he had time. At that time, he would be able to use his left eye's power again. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. 3 days later, Nan Gongfan will invite a few of us to spar with each other, including his direct disciple, Bei Moi. Feng Hanyue threw out a piece of news. Chapter 88. Feng Hanyue's news made Zhao Feng look forward to it. Ever since he had become Lord Guanjuan's disciple, he hadn't had the chance to learn from each other. There were still 2 to 3 days left until Nan Gongfan's invitation. Before that, Zhao Feng went to the Treasury Hall. In the Treasury Hall, there was a place to collect martial arts books. It was called the Library Pavilion. The contents of the books were not limited to martial arts. They also included astronomy, geography, history, pharmacology, and many other categories. Many of the books here were lost classics that people in the outside world yearned for even in their dreams. As Lord Guanjuan's core disciple, Zhao Feng could basically read all the contents in the book pavilion. Zhao Feng came to the martial arts section where the highest rank of martial arts was half-holy rank. Half-holy rank martial arts were restricted to martial masters. Without a great contribution to the Guanjuan Palace, they wouldn't have the right to learn them. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, could read these half-holy martial arts, but he could only take out 10 of them. But Zhao Feng didn't need to take them out. He opened his left eye and looked through the books that he was interested in. Up until now, the few martial arts that he had trained in were all half-holy rank martial arts. Even the lowest-ranked Star Finger possessed a might that was on par with a half-saint grade martial technique. Zhao Feng looked through these half-holy rank martial arts and found that the smoking transparent step and returning breath technique that he had gotten from Sanwei and Bei Moi were both high-tier half-holy rank martial arts. Especially returning breath technique, its power and uniqueness was almost on par with a holy rank martial art. Apart from that, the lightly floating fairy that he cultivated was one of the best among the half-holy grade martial arts. It looks like there's no need for me to choose a new half-holy rank martial art. Zhao Feng came to a conclusion. If he had to pick a weakness, it would be Star Finger. However, his mastery of this finger technique was very high. If it was used with the partial wind style, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Furthermore, he was not willing to spend too much time and effort to comprehend new offensive martial arts. Zhao Feng would rather spend more time on the 4 wind stances, which were the 4 holy martial arts in the dimension of his left eye: flowing wind stance, tornado stance, partial wind stance and burning wind stance. At this point, Zhao Feng's flowing wind style had basically been comprehended, and he began to try the next move, tornado style. Ever since he had seen the Saint-grade martial tactic in the Saint-grade pavilion, Zhao Feng vaguely realized that the four wind forms was not an ordinary Saint-grade martial tactic. Even though it was incomplete, it was already so profound. In the dimension of his left eye, Zhao Feng could open many memories, including the four wind stances and mysterious wind palm. When Zhao Feng was comprehending, he discovered that the mysterious wind palm and the four wind styles could corroborate and promote each other. In the martial arts category, Zhao Feng flipped through a large number of martial arts secret manuals and absorbed all the ones he was interested in into his mind to increase his martial arts theory. After that, Zhao Feng then went to the other categories of books in the library pavilion. Among them, he was interested in geography and history. Because he came from a weak branch family, Zhao Feng didn't really understand the continent he lived in. The geography and history books were mostly limited to the 13 countries alliance. The sky cloud forest is so big, it actually includes the 13 countries. Zhao Feng was slightly shocked. The 13 countries alliance was a group of countries that joined together to fight against a foreign enemy. What kind of enemy was there that required the 13 countries to work together? Zhao Feng's breathing quickened as he continued to flip through the geography and history books. For the past 1,000 years, the 13 countries alliance has been struggling to survive between the two strong countries. The two great kingdoms, the Sky-Rich Kingdom and the Iron Dragon Kingdom, fought against each other and kept each other in check. If any one of the strong countries wins, the 13 countries alliance will be destroyed. Zhao Feng was shocked as he read up to here. A long time ago, when he was in Greenleaf Village, he had always thought that Sun Feather City was big, the province city was far away and the Cloud Country was even bigger. But he didn't think that the 13 countries including the Cloud Country would only be able to survive between the two strong countries. Once the balance between the two countries was broken, the 13 countries alliance wouldn't be able to fight back. Northern continent. Zhao Feng also noticed that the two strong countries were only two of the many strong countries in the northern continent. The library pavilion's geography books only extended to the northern continent. As for the other areas of the Green Flower continent, they were basically just mentioned. For the next half a day, Zhao Feng digested the geography and history books and his horizons were broadened. But somehow, he felt that what was mentioned in the library pavilion was only the tip of the iceberg. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. This morning, Feng Hanyue, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei all came to Nan Gongfan's palace. Lord Guanjuan actually had more than 10 outer disciples. But there were only 5 or 6 of the same age, including Bei Moi, Nan Gongfan, Feng Hanyue, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei. Apart from them, there was also a youth called Yang Qingshan, who was around 16 or 17 years old and had reached the 8th rank of the martial path. Brother Nan Gongfan, why aren't you introducing the new disciples to me? Yang Qingshan's voice was extremely loud and when he saw Zhao Feng and the others, he was extremely friendly. Nan Gongfan felt his head hurt as he introduced Zhao Feng and the others to Yang Qingshan. Why isn't Bei Moi here yet? This guy is cultivating the great ripple art. Could he have gone berserk? Ha ha ha. Yang Qingshan curled his lips and laughed out loud. The other disciples of the same age had all arrived except for Bei Moi. In this period of time, Yang Qingshan's mouth didn't stop. Nan Gongfan also felt helpless, but this senior martial brother Yang was definitely stronger than him. He's here. Yang Qingshan exclaimed. Outside the courtyard, a youth walked in. It was Bei Moi. Brother Bei, you're finally here. Nan Gongfan let out a breath. Bei Moi glanced at the group and sat down cross-legged as he started to cultivate his inner qi. Zhao Feng and the others looked at each other. On the other hand, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan weren't surprised at all. After the fellow disciples arrived, they began to discuss with each other. Occasionally, they would display their skills and spar with each other. This was mainly Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan's discussion. Zhao Feng and the others would occasionally interrupt. As for Bei Moi, he was like a block of wood, cultivating. Not long later, the disciples started to spar. 3 new junior brothers and junior sisters, who will play with me? Yang Qingshan had a warm smile on his face. Me. Feng Hanyue walked out and sparred with Yang Qingshan. Yang Qingshan had suppressed his cultivation to the peak 7th rank to fight with Feng Hanyue. 2 figures shuttled back and forth in the courtyard, clashing with each other. Mountain stance. Yang Qingshan suddenly used a holy martial art and thrust out his palm. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on him, causing the surrounding air to rumble like waves. Sky illusion stance. Feng Hanyue casted the incomplete Saint martial art. His movement was like an illusionary moon shadow, but under the pressure of Yang Qingshan's attacks, his body was strangely restricted. After exchanging 20 moves, Feng Hanyue was panting and sweating profusely. And this was under the situation where Yang Qingshan had suppressed his cultivation. Then, it was Zhao Yufei's turn to spar with Yang Qingshan. Yang Qingshan still suppressed his cultivation to the same level as his opponent. Zhao Yufei's performance was out of his expectations. Under Yang Qingshan's pressure, her movement skill was able to unleash its full potential. However, after tens of moves, Zhao Yufei was also defeated. This Yang Qingshan has trained many half-holy martial arts, and his level is even higher. There seems to be a complete holy martial art among them. Zhao Feng could see everything clearly as he watched the battle. After Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei were defeated, Yang Qingshan looked at Zhao Feng with a smile. My turn. Zhao Feng stood up. Hee, let me do it. Nan Gongfan's lips curled into a creepy smile as he took Yang Qingshan's place. Yang Qingshan was curious, why did Nan Gongfan pick Zhao Feng to fight? He didn't reject it and gave his position to Nan Gongfan. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. He knew that when he left the spiritual martial palace, his words had offended Nan Gongfan, which made him unhappy. Junior brother Zhao Feng, don't worry. I will control my cultivation to the same level as you. Nan Gongfan said with a smile, as if he was giving advice to his junior brother. Swoosh! Zhao Feng didn't waste any time and appeared behind Nan Gongfan in a flash. Not a single sound could be heard during this entire process, and they were so slow that they didn't even see Zhao Feng's shadow. So fast! Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei's expressions changed slightly. What Zhao Feng used was the half-holy martial art, smoking transparent step, which was silent and hard to defend against. Star Finger. Zhao Feng's Star Finger was pushed to the peak of the 4th level and his finger force was unleashed. A green streak of starlight appeared in front of Nan Gongfan. Not bad. Nan Gongfan smiled and waved his sleeve. An invisible gust of wind blew away Zhao Feng's finger force. So easy. Zhao Feng's heart sank. Nan Gongfan must have practiced a holy martial art to be able to destroy Zhao Feng's Star Finger with just a wave of his hand. After the attack, Nan Gongfan waved his palm and a white gust of wind flew towards Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng wanted to dodge, but he felt a strange suction force stopping him. Nan Gongfan, who was standing in the center, was like a whirlpool, sucking in the dust and leaves around him. TSK, junior brother Nan Gongfan's suction force has improved again. Yang Qingshan said with a smile. Star Finger. Zhao Feng used the suction force to activate the signature move of Star Finger. Shoo! 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 As he attacked, Zhao Feng's finger flickered and flickered like stars, appearing and disappearing endlessly. Some of the finger energies tore through the air like shooting stars streaking across the sky, beautiful and moving. Not bad, but it's useless against me. Nan Gongfan smiled calmly as he stood on the spot and kept on moving his hands. Whoosh, layers of white gust of wind moved up and down. The suction force on Nan Gongfan's body was getting stronger and stronger. Zhao Feng felt that his finger force was like a stone sinking into the ocean. Once it got close to Nan Gongfan, it would be weakened, deflected, and destroyed. Moreover, his movements and attacks were greatly restricted when he was in Nan Gongfan's chi field. seeing that Zhao Feng had fallen into a passive state and was being beaten up, flowing wind stance. Zhao Feng's movement skill and attacks suddenly merged with an artistic concept. The white gust of wind and the ever-changing suction force moved naturally with the wind. Star Finger. Zhao Feng's attacks were also full of agility and changes. They moved around Nan Gongfan's body as if he was borrowing the wind force from Nan Gongfan. This kid can break my holy martial art. Nan Gongfan was finally shocked. Chapter 89. Zhao Feng's performance also shocked Yang Qingshan, Feng Hanyue, and Zhao Yufei. This kid is quite something. He can even attack within the range of junior brother Nan Gongfan's suction force. Yang Qingshan's expression changed as he grinned, looking interested. As the two fought, Zhao Feng's figure floated in the wind. Star Finger flashed like the stars in the sky and pierced through the air like a meteor. The flowing wind stance allowed Zhao Feng's movement and attacks to go beyond his original limits. He was as elegant as the wind and had endless variations. Every move he made followed the call of the wind. Nan Gongfan's suction force used his inner energy to create a wind stance, but Zhao Feng's flowing wind stance was able to nullify it and even borrow it. In a short period of time, Nan Gongfan's holy grade martial art couldn't suppress Zhao Feng. This made his face pale. As a senior brother of the same sect, he wanted to teach Zhao Feng a thing or two, but he didn't expect Zhao Feng to be so difficult to deal with. Suction force. Nan Gongfan let out a low roar, and a high-frequency vibration of his inner strength burst out from his body. The whirlpool-like wind field was now like a violent tornado, rushing in all directions. The violent tornado contained a high-frequency rotating vibration of inner strength, which was enough to crush a house into pieces in an instant. What a terrifying move! Zhao Feng felt a tightness in his chest. The violent tornado tore at his body and even made its way into his organs. Is this the power of a holy grade martial art? Zhao Feng squinted his left eye and immediately understood the inner energy in the air. He had basically figured out the theory behind Nan Gongfan's move. His silver wall technique was at the peak of the 6th stage, but he didn't move an inch from the impact of the tornado. Nan Gongfan was shocked. He felt that Zhao Feng was like a silver wall that couldn't be moved. Ah! With his left eye, Zhao Feng understood the principles behind Nan Gongfan's moves and found that it was similar to the second move of the four-wind stance, tornado stance. He immediately opened his left eye and recorded the scene of Nan Gongfan using the turbo whirlwind. Whoosh! A scene appeared in the dimension of his left eye. It was the process of Nan Gongfan casting the holy martial art whirlpool tornado. In the dimension of his left eye, the process of that move could be slowed down by tens of times and every detail could be seen from different angles. Soon, the profound meaning of this move and the tornado style that Zhao Feng had comprehended verified each other. Zhao Feng's understanding of the tornado stance had improved by as much as 40 to 50%. 5-star pointing movement. Zhao Feng's figure moved along with the wind as he unleashed a sharp and explosive finger attack. Green starlight spots appeared in the void, some of which flickered on the spot while others flashed through the air. It was a beautiful and enchanting sight. All of a sudden, the might of the star finger rose to a whole new level. 5th level of star finger. Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei, who were watching the battle from the side, were shocked. Star Finger was famous in the Cloud Country as it was extremely difficult and dangerous to train. There were 7 levels to this technique, and once one reached the 4th level, they would be able to unleash the power from afar, even if they didn't reach the 7th level. Once they trained it to the 5th level, their attacks would be as bright as the stars. Not only would the power of each finger increase, the speed of the attack would also increase. What was more terrifying was that Zhao Feng seemed to have seen through the gap in Nan Gongfan's turbo whirlwind and his powerful finger attack broke through the gap. How did this guy do it? Nan Gongfan's expression finally changed as he quickly waved his hands, causing the white air around him to explode layer by layer. Boom! As the two clashed, a 2 to 3 meter wide crater was created, and the wind blew tens of meters away. At this critical moment, Nan Gongfan's cultivation had increased to the limit of the 7th rank, which had surpassed Zhao Feng's. Tang! Zhao Feng somersaulted and landed on the ground without any injuries. His silver wall technique had reached the peak of the 6th level, so he could almost ignore Nan Gongfan's attacks. On the other hand, Nan Gongfan was standing on the spot and taking a deep breath. His eyes were filled with sharpness as a circle of invisible white aura surrounded his body like a barrier. Thanks for letting me win. Zhao Feng slyly smiled, and then his figure flickered as he returned to his original position. Brother Zhao. Why are you not fighting anymore? We haven't finished sparring yet. Nan Gongfan was a little angry. Brother Nan Gongfan, your cultivation has already surpassed Brother Zhao's. As a senior, you wouldn't want to bully the weak, right? Yang Qingshan's voice sounded. It was obvious from the sparring between the two that Nan Gongfan wouldn't be able to win against Zhao Feng if they were at the same cultivation level. I've underestimated my opponent. I'll have a proper sparring with Brother Zhao next time. Nan Gongfan reluctantly sat back down. Proper sparring? Zhao Feng thought about the meaning of these words. If it was a proper sparring, then Nan Gongfan would use his full cultivation of the 8th rank of the martial path without holding back. In the courtyard, a few disciples were chatting with each other, but they didn't know that the entire process didn't go unnoticed. At the top of the building sat 2 figures. One was an azure-shirt man, and the other was a simple-minded youth. Brother Yi, this Zhao Feng is stronger than expected. His silver wall technique has probably reached the peak of the 6th level, and his star finger has also reached the 5th level. Moreover, he seems to have mastered some kind of profound saint-grade martial tactic profundity. The simple-minded youth was slightly surprised. Why don't you think about who picked such a genius? Yi Linyan said with a smug tone. They had watched the sparring between Zhao Feng and Nan Gongfan. It was obvious that Zhao Feng's performance had surprised them. You're right. I almost made a mistake. A deep and empty voice rang in their ears. Yes. Third Guard and Yi Linyan nodded their heads instinctively. Ah! No, the next moment, the two's hearts jumped as they exclaimed, Master. But when they turned around, they didn't see anyone. But Lord Guanzhuan's voice sounded in their ears. The two looked around and finally saw Lord Guanzhuan sitting cross-legged on a tree a few hundred meters away. Lord Guanzhuan's aura seemed to have merged with the tree and it was hard to tell him apart without looking closely. Not only did the sparring reach Yi Linyan and Third Guard's ears, even Lord Guanzhuan knew about it. But thinking about it, Lord Guanzhuan was the person in charge of the Guanzhuan Palace, and nothing here could escape his control. Furthermore, the ones he was paying attention to were the disciples he valued the most. I can't believe Master places so much importance on this sparring. Third Guard and Yi Linyan looked at each other with shock in their eyes. Lord Guanzhuan's gaze landed on Bei Moi. In the sparring between fellow disciples, everyone performed well. The newcomers, Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei, had great potential. Zhao Feng's performance had even given them a pleasant surprise. Of course, Lord Guanzhuan was most concerned about his core disciple, Bei Moi. Bei Moi, we haven't sparred for a long time. Yang Qingshan suggested. In terms of strength, Yang Qingshan was slightly stronger than Nan Gongfan and he was second only to Bei Moi. Zhao Feng and the others also looked at him with interest. In their eyes, Bei Moi was a monstrous genius. There's no point in fighting one-on-one. Bei Moi stood up and didn't refuse. You mean, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's eyebrows twitched. Zhao Feng also realized what Bei Moi was trying to do. The 5 of you can come at me together. Bei Moi's voice was calm as if he was saying something normal. What? Together? Nan Gongfan, Yang Qingshan, Zhao Feng and the other 2 were all shocked. Anger appeared on Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan's faces. What, you don't dare? Bei Moi slowly walked to the center of the 5. Okay. Feng Hanyue's face went cold as he joined the battle. Then, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan surrounded Bei Moi in the middle. Zhao Feng and the other two had lower cultivation, so they stood at the edge of the battle. In an instant, the atmosphere in the field became extremely oppressive. The battle in the courtyard was split into two sides. Bei Moi was one side and his cultivation was at the peak of the 8th rank. On the other side were Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan, Feng Hanyue, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei. 2 of them were at the 8th rank and 3 were at the 7th rank. Wasn't this a little too much? Zhao Feng was confused. At this moment, Yi Linyun and Third Guard held their breaths and focused. Godly suction force. Nan Gongfan was the first to attack. An invisible white wave shot out from his palm towards Bei Moi in the shape of a whirlpool. Instantly, a terrifying suction force enveloped Bei Moi's body. If it was a normal cultivator of the 8th rank, they would have lost their balance. However, Bei Moi didn't move an inch as his clothes fluttered in the wind. It was as if his feet were rooted to the ground. Mountain collapse. Yang Qingshan shouted as he sent out a palm strike. The palm strike was as heavy as a mountain, causing the sand in the air to tremble as it flew towards Bei Moi. He and Nan Gongfan, one was the main attacker while the other was the support. Their coordination was flawless. At the same time, Zhao Feng and the other two attacked from the side. Star Finger. Sky-splitting illusion moon. Dancing thousand leaves. Zhao Feng, Feng Hanyue, and Zhao Yufei's attacks came from 3 different directions. Zhao Feng's attack wasn't any weaker than the 8th rank of the martial path. Feng Hanyue and Zhao Yufei's attacks were close to the 8th rank of the martial path. In an instant, the attacks of the 5 youths were like a thunderstorm that engulfed Bei Moi. Good! Ripple annihilation. Bei Moi stood on the spot and opened his arms wide. A layer of bronze-colored inner strength rippled out like thunder. It was as if hundreds of fierce horses were sweeping in all directions with absolute power. It was as if he was the only one in the world. Crack, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan, who were at the front, were instantly destroyed. Furthermore, a domineering bronze-colored inner strength ripple sent their bodies flying. Wah! Nan Gongfan spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. Yang Qingshan's arm was numb and his face was pale. Peng peng peng, the remaining bronze inner strength ripple destroyed the attacks of Zhao Feng and the other two. Zhao Yufei and Feng Hanyue let out a groan as their bodies flew out uncontrollably. Whoosh! The shockwave swept through the area, and the billowing dust almost enveloped the courtyard and pavilion where the crowd was. It also covered the truth of the scene. Chapter 90. Cough cough. On top of the building, Third Guard and Yi Linyun were swept into the dust cloud. The two looked at each other with shock on their faces as they stared at the dust cloud below. The battle between the 6 geniuses was extremely loud. It was comparable to the battle between cultivators of the 9th rank. At this moment, even Lord Guanjuan, who was far away, had a hint of joy on his face as he stared at the dust cloud. At the center of the dust cloud, Bei Moi stood on the spot, his feet rooted half an inch into the ground. The trees and fake mountains around him had all been destroyed. Everything in sight was a scene of devastation. Around him were a few other youths, their faces were pale, and they were in a sorry state. Among them, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan, who were facing the attack head-on, were both suffering from internal injuries. Zhao Yufei and Feng Hanyue, who had attacked from the side, were also sent flying with light injuries. But there was one exception. At the edge of the dust cloud stood a youth whose clothes were fluttering in the wind. He didn't have any injuries on him, but he had a serious expression on his face. This guy's strength is probably more terrifying than most cultivators of the 9th rank. Zhao Feng's chest heaved up and down as he stared at Bei Moi. From the branch family to the main family, from Sunfeather City to Guanjuan Province City, Zhao Feng had never met such a terrifying genius before. Perhaps only Xian Wuheng, the mysterious youth who had fought with him before, would be able to compete with him. When the dust cloud dissipated, the situation was clear. Beimwa stood on the spot expressionlessly. That attack just then only used 60% of my strength. 60% strength. The other geniuses wanted to say something, but they couldn't say a single word. Was this Beimwa's true strength? Feng Hanyue had a bitter smile on his face. He finally understood why Beimwa was able to become Lord Guanjuan's only core disciple, while he and the others could only be outer disciples. He didn't think that the difference between a core disciple and an outer disciple would be so big. No wonder Lord Guanjuan placed so much importance on him. It's only been a month and junior brother Beimwa has become so strong. His strength is comparable to ours now. Yi Linyun sighed lightly. The youths in the building were speechless. There was dead silence. On the tree far away, Lord Guanjuan had a smile on his face as he murmured, "It's almost time," after a long while. Silence returned to the courtyard. "Sigh, junior brother Beimwa, we give up," Yang Qingshan said helplessly with a dispirited expression. Nan Gongfan had a helpless look on his face. His eyes were filled with jealousy and unwillingness. On the other hand, Zhao Feng and Zhao Yufei were relatively calm, as the difference in their cultivation was too great. Junior brother Zhao. Suddenly, Beimwa's gaze landed on Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng was startled. What's wrong? The gazes of the other geniuses also fell on him. Were you the one who used that finger just now? Beimwa stared at him and waved his sleeves. They looked at Beimwa's sleeve and saw that there was a small hole the size of an index finger. Of course, this small hole was only limited to Beimwa's sleeve. His arm was as white as before, without a trace. How did he do it? Even so, it still shocked the people on the field. When everyone was fighting, Beimwa could be said to have swept through everything. His great ripple technique was like a heavenly net, and even Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's attacks could not get close to him. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Maybe it was luck. Luck? Suspicion flashed in Yang Qingshan's eyes. Only Zhao Feng was unharmed amongst the group that had attacked Beimwa. Not only that, his finger attack had found a flaw in Beimwa's technique and left a small hole on the latter's sleeve. If it was just one of them, it might be luck, but if it was both, then the chance of it being a coincidence was very small. Yi Linyun and Third Guard who were watching from the shadows were also surprised. The battle before was too chaotic and they didn't notice these details. On the other hand, Lord Guanjuan's eyes flashed as he said in a low voice, "What incredible observation, in that chaotic situation, he was able to find the flaw on Mo's body and hit him with his finger." Apart from Zhao Feng and Beimwa, only Lord Guanjuan knew what had happened. Lord Guanjuan had only found out after the battle and didn't notice this detail at the time. Luck? Beimwa didn't pursue the matter, but he still felt slightly uncomfortable. He had used his own strength to scare off 6 top geniuses, which should have been a perfect ending. However, not only was Zhao Feng uninjured, he even left a finger-sized hole in his sleeve. This could be said to be the only blemish on his record. Ever since he had been taken in as Lord Guanjuan's core disciple, he had never lost to anyone in the same generation. But ever since he met Zhao Feng, he had made an exception. First, he lost to Zhao Feng in memory and now the latter had left a blemish on his record. A friendly spar between fellow disciples ended here. Yi Linyun, Third Guard and Lord Guanjuan who were hiding behind the scenes all left. The disciples of Lord Guanjuan all gained something from this sparring and they all went into seclusion to comprehend it. On the way back, Zhao Feng's mind was still filled with Beimwa's invincible attack. He was too strong. Zhao Feng couldn't find a way to face it head-on. Furthermore, that attack had only used 60% of Beimwa's strength. Zhao Feng had opened his left eye to observe Beimwa and found that the latter's cultivation was close to the 9th rank. The inner strength he trained was extremely special and it was even stronger than his returning breath technique. After analyzing, he was sure that Beimwa had trained at least 2 or 3 holy martial arts. Among them, the Great Wave technique was even stronger than an ordinary Saint-grade martial skill. This made Zhao Feng realize that even holy martial arts had different levels. Soon, he remembered the rankings of holy martial arts he had seen in the book pavilion. Holy martial arts are split into low, mid, high and peak classes. The ones I saw in the holy martial arts building were all low-tier holy martial arts. There was a large amount of information in Zhao Feng's mind. 2 days ago, he had obtained a large amount of knowledge from the book pavilion, but there was still a lot of knowledge that he hadn't digested yet. After returning back to his place, Zhao Feng started to comprehend what he had learnt from today's sparring session. Especially the flowing wind style of the 4 wind styles, he had already comprehended its essence. Not only that, Zhao Feng had also comprehended the second stance, tornado stance. Who? Zhao Feng circulated his returning breath inner strength and waved his hands. The sound of air breaking could be heard as the inner strength caused the wind to howl. Star finger. Zhao Feng pointed out with a finger, and the howling of the wind came from his body. This simple finger seemed to have attracted the surrounding wind, creating an attack that covered a large area. So that's how it is. The flowing wind stance is very useful for movement and footwork, while the tornado stance can increase the power of the stance, creating a large impact. Zhao Feng understood more and more. The 4 wind stances were flowing wind stance, tornado stance, partial wind stance and ardent gale stance. Each stance was more profound than the one before and more powerful. Up until now, Zhao Feng had grasped the flowing wind stance and had also comprehended 50 to 60% of the tornado stance. If he guessed correctly, the partial wind stance and ardent gale stance would be powerful offensive stances. For the next few days, Zhao Feng spent most of his time comprehending. On this day, Zhao Feng woke up from his comprehension and opened his eyes. Young Master Zhao, Master Yi Linyun has sent a message. He wants to see you. A servant's urgent voice came from outside. Normally, the servant wouldn't disturb him unless it was urgent. But this time, it seemed to be different. Zhao Feng walked out of the room and got the location of the gathering place from the servant. The gathering place was the Sky Guards Battalion. Soon, Zhao Feng arrived at the building in the middle of the Sky Guards Battalion. When he arrived, there were already many people sitting in the building. The 2 people at the front were 3rd Guard and Yi Linyun. Behind them were Lord Guanjuan's outer disciples and the new 10 Sky Guards. Soon, Bei Moi and Yang Qingshan also arrived. Everyone was present. Lord 3rd Guard, what happened? One of the youths asked. 3rd Guard replied, it has something to do with the bandit extermination mission. Bandit extermination mission? Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. Weren't the bandits killed last time in the bandit chaos zone? The other youths were also puzzled. Zhao Feng thought about it, if it was just to exterminate bandits, there was no need to send Lord Guanjuan's disciples or even his core disciple Bei Moi. It's like this, in the area where you were suppressing the bandits last time, in the Sky Cloud Forest, a large number of beasts and wild beasts jumped out and attacked the nearby villages. They even formed a large-scale beast tide and headed towards Guanjuan Prefecture City. Yi Linyun explained. Beast horde? The youths were all shocked. Why would there be a beast horde in the Sky Cloud Forest? Zhao Feng couldn't help but think back to the day when he was chasing after the leader of the deadly wolves. At that time, Zhao Feng's left eye had seen the hooded figure and a few high-tiered deadly beasts that had appeared out of nowhere. The scale of the beast horde is not small, there are large amounts of low-tiered deadly beasts and some high-tiered deadly beasts. They have destroyed a few villages and even threatened Guanjuan Province City. Yi Linyun's expression was solemn. High-tiered deadly beasts? The other youths couldn't help but tremble. There was no lack of stories about high-tiered deadly beasts. Zhao Feng had even personally experienced the 2-winged sword-teeth tiger and the blood python in the Sky Cloud Forest. Each of them had the power to destroy a village and could even threaten a small city like Sun Feather City. Guanjuan Province City has already sent soldiers and cultivators, but we don't have enough people. This beast tide is also a chance for all of you to gain experience. Lord Guanjuan has ordered you to help defend. The wooden youth explained his intentions. Help defend? Hearing this, the youths all let out a breath, some of them were even excited. Through battle, we can increase our strength and stimulate our potential. Zhao Feng's attitude was positive and positive. Just as the crowd was discussing. Qiao, in the skies above Guangling Prefecture, a shrill shriek shook the souls of everyone present. What's going on? Have the deadly beasts already reached Guangjuan Province City? Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. His left eye instantly pierced through a distance of 20 to 30 li. He saw a huge golden bird in the sky. It spread its wings and swallowed the clouds. Its momentum was majestic. It was much more powerful than the double-winged saber-toothed tiger he had seen before. Chapter 91. Chirp. That sharp shriek caused the blood and qi of the humans in Guangling City to vibrate and their eardrums to hurt. Plop! Plop! Those who hadn't entered the martial path fainted on the ground. Zhao Feng had the supervision of his left eye, so he could see the outline of the golden bird from 20 to 30 miles away. More accurately speaking, it was a giant golden eagle, similar to the metal-beak eagle that Zhao Feng had met in the sky cloud forest. However, it was several times bigger, and its wingspan was 10 meters. Not good. That's the famous golden beak eagle king of the sky cloud forest. Some of the cultivators in the city recognized the golden eagle. The golden beak eagle king was a high-tier deadly beast, and its strength was comparable to a cultivator of the 9th rank of the martial path. Hoo! The golden beak eagle king flew over the city wall, leaving behind a golden afterimage. Arg! In an instant, 7 to 8 cultivators were smashed into pieces. Of the cultivators that were killed, the one with the highest cultivation was at the 7th rank of the martial path. He couldn't even see the trajectory of the golden beak eagle king. Chirp! 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 At this moment, a dense swarm of golden light spots surged over from the distant sky. Taking a closer look, the cultivators on the city walls trembled in fear. Their faces paled, as though they had been petrified. The golden lights were hundreds and thousands of golden beak eagles. There were big and small ones, but they were all deadly beasts. Even the weakest of them had the strength of a cultivator. Quick, defend! The beast horde is coming, report it to the Guangjuan palace. The outer city of the Guangjuan province was in chaos, as if it was the end of the world. Sky Guards Battalion, in the central building. The young geniuses could also faintly hear the sharp cry of the bird that shook their minds. But they didn't have Zhao Feng's supervision, so they couldn't see what was happening 20 to 30 miles away. Looks like there's a powerful high-tier deadly beast attacking the Guangjuan province city. Yi Linyan sensed something and looked in a certain direction. Long story short, from now on, all of you will join the defense and help the beast horde. Killing deadly beasts will also give you battle points. Normal deadly beasts will give you at least 1 battle point, and high-tier deadly beasts will give you at least 20 battle points. The simple-minded youth instructed. After everything was settled, 3rd Guard and Yi Linyan led the youths out of Guangjuan County City. When they arrived near the city walls, the youths were stunned. Near the city walls, there were countless wild beasts and ferocious beasts in the sky and on the ground. There were thousands of ferocious beasts and at least hundreds of thousands of ordinary wild beasts. So fast! These beasts actually came to Guangjuan Prefecture City. Yi Linyan took a deep breath. Luckily, the warriors and army of Guangjuan City had already arrived and were stationed near the city walls, killing the beasts and wild beasts that had invaded the city. However, the truly troublesome ones were the golden beak eagles in the sky. They were similar to the metal beak eagles that Zhao Feng had encountered in the past. Their wings were as tough as metal, and normal arrows would find it hard to penetrate their defense. It could be said that the golden pecker eagle was an advanced evolution of the metal pecker eagle. Ding ding ding, the sky full of arrows landed on the golden beak eagle's body, producing the sound of metal clashing. Most of the arrows shot by archers below the martial artist level would not be able to break through the golden beak eagle's defense. So, Zhao Feng took out his golden stairs bow and shot out an arrow, causing 2 golden beak eagles to fall from the sky, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Some of the archers nearby were surprised to find that the sharpshooter was only a 14-year-old boy. Everyone joined the battle. Archers deal with the flying beasts in the sky, the rest of you follow the army and fight the ferocious beasts outside. The general of Guangzhou Province City gave out orders. The army's power was enough to deal with normal wild beasts. But to deal with the ferocious beasts, they still had to rely on the martial artists of the city. Everyone go! The youths of the Sky Guards battalion all joined the battle to help defend the city. The beast horde was a chance for them to gain some battle points, so they were all excited and nervous. Lord Guanzhuan's disciples, on the other hand, were calm as they killed the ferocious beasts that got close to the city walls. Nan Gongfan, Feng Hanyue, and Zhao Yufei had all reached the 7th rank of the martial path, so they could kill tens of ferocious beasts in one move. But the number of ferocious beasts was high, and as the battle continued, the killing became more and more intense. So, Zhao Feng would occasionally pull his golden stairs bow and every arrow he shot out would kill 2 or even 3 flying beasts. His archery skills shocked the nearby archers. Maybe it was because he had killed too many ferocious beasts, but some of the ferocious beasts in the sky had bloodshot eyes as they charged towards Zhao Feng. "Watch out!" the nearby archers exclaimed and warned Zhao Feng. "These bastards also know how to hold grudges." Zhao Feng was slightly shocked, but he wasn't afraid as he opened his left eye. "Star finger." Zhao Feng pointed out several times with his finger, which turned into a flash of starlight. The flying beasts that got close to him all fell to the ground before they could even get close. But this also attracted the attention of the ferocious beasts in the sky. "Chio!" Suddenly, a sharp cry came from the sky as a high-tier golden pecker led tens of others towards Zhao Feng. "Stop them!" The expressions of the martial artists near the city wall changed. Especially the high-tier golden pecker, whose strength was comparable to the 8th rank of the martial path. The moment they charged into the city, there would be heavy casualties. Star finger. Tornado stance. Zhao Feng's eyes were sharp as he pointed out an azure streak of light. Accompanied by the howling of the wind, it created a large area shockwave. Boom! 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 Instantly, 5 golden peckers fell to the ground. What was even more shocking was that almost every single golden pecker's throat had been pierced by the finger energy. The precision of the finger energy was unimaginable. Pang! Zhao Feng took a blow from the high-tier golden pecker and leaped into the air. The 2 figures retreated. Zhao Feng retreated while the high-tier golden pecker flew back into the sky. This youth has reached the 7th rank of the martial path at such a young age. Some of the martial artists on the city wall exclaimed. On the other hand, Zhao Feng was shocked by the high-tier golden pecker's strength. It was comparable to the 2-winged sword-teeth tiger in the sky cloud forest, and it was close to the 9th rank of the martial path. Due to his outstanding performance, Zhao Feng worked together with some of the martial artists on the city wall. These archers were full of respect for Zhao Feng's archery skills. Every arrow that Zhao Feng shot out never missed. Most of the time, he would kill more than 2 birds with 1 arrow. Roar! A loud roar came from outside the city. After the golden pecker eagle king, 5 to 6 high-tier deadly beasts that were comparable to the 9th rank of the martial path appeared. It was more appropriate to call them peak deadly beasts. These peak deadly beasts were comparable to grandmasters of the 9th rank of the martial path, and every time they attacked, they could take tens of lives. Zhao Feng's left eye saw that the peak-tier deadly beasts were all hiding far away. A top-tier savage beast was definitely stronger than the double-winged saber-toothed tiger he had encountered in the sky cloud forest. Ripple annihilation. A cry came from mid-air as a young man's figure went up to meet a top-tier fierce beast. Boom! This youth was able to fight a peak deadly beast head-on, and they were evenly matched. The nearby martial artists were all shocked. "Bei moi." Zhao Feng and the others also saw a familiar figure, who was only at the peak of the 8th rank, fighting a peak deadly beast. The killing power of a peak deadly beast was too terrifying. Once it charged into the city, no one would be able to stop it. So, Yi Linyun, 3rd Guard and the other 9th rank martial artists all jumped off the city wall and charged towards the peak deadly beast. Guangzhou Province City had sent out 5 to 6 9th rank martial artists for this battle, which was the same number as the peak deadly beasts. However, the Golden Pecker Eagle King in the sky had no opponents. Even peak 9th rank martial artists were unable to surpass its height. Although the 9th rank of the martial path was strong, it was still difficult for them to fly in the sky, let alone fight with the Golden Pecker Eagle King in the sky. These bastards! The martial artists on the city wall were helpless against the Golden Pecker Eagle in the sky. If it was a normal deadly beast, the martial artists of Guangzhou Province City could easily kill it. However, the Golden Pecker Eagle King was extremely fast and its defense was shocking. Under the leadership of the Golden Pecker Eagle King, hundreds and thousands of Golden Pecker Eagles flew above the city wall. Every time they flew, they would take the lives of many martial artists on the city wall. Summon all the archers in the city to deal with these flying beasts. On the city walls of Guangzhou Province, a middle-aged man in silver armor with a square face stood on the city walls, giving out orders. This middle-aged man was the general of Guangzhou Province City. His cultivation was at the peak of the 9th rank, and his battle power was almost invincible. Not long ago, the general had killed a peak deadly beast, which boosted the morale of the city. But facing the Golden Beak Eagle King in the sky, the commander couldn't do anything. The Golden Beak Eagle King, be it speed or defense, was stronger than normal 9th rank cultivators. It flew in the air and didn't fight him head-on. "General Heng, if we don't kill the Golden Pecker Eagle King, the defense of the city will be exhausted and fall into a passive state." Yi Linyun was covered in blood as he landed near the city wall, panting heavily. Not long ago, Yi Linyun had killed a peak deadly beast, but he was also heavily injured. Chirp! Suddenly, the Golden Pecker Eagle King turned into a golden gust of wind and pounced towards a human expert on the battlefield. That human expert was a 9th rank martial artist. "Watch out!" The silver-armored commander, Yi Linyun, and the others reminded him from afar. The 9th rank martial artist was in a stalemate with another peak deadly beast, and when he heard the sound of the air being torn apart, he knew that something was wrong. Pew, pew. The Golden Pecker Eagle King's sharp claws pierced through the 9th rank martial artist's body protection. Ah! The human 9th tier expert let out a blood-curdling scream as his body was torn into pieces by the 2 top-tier fierce beasts' attacks. On the city wall, Zhao Feng's heart went cold at this sight. "Goddamn bastard!" The expression of the general and Yi Linyun changed drastically as they gritted their teeth. "General Heng, no matter what price we have to pay, we must kill this bastard." A cold expression appeared on Yi Linyun's face. It was extremely difficult to raise a 9th rank martial artist, and some normal cities might not even have one in a few decades. "We must lure it to the ground and ambush it." General Heng fell into deep thought. But an ordinary archer's attack can't even touch its shadow, let alone break its defense. A martial Dao master next to her said bitterly and helplessly. "Pass down my order, gather the strongest archers near the city wall." Commander Heng's cold, murderous voice reverberated for miles. Chapter 92. Pass down my order, gather the best archers near the city wall. Following Commander Heng's order, some of the publicly recognized archers on the city wall with superb archery skills were recommended over. A while later, beside General Heng, there were 7 to 8 archers of the 5th or 6th rank, while the strongest were of the 7th or 8th rank. These people were all famous archers in Guangzhou Province City, and most of them were young and middle-aged. However, there was one exception. One of the archers was a 14-year-old youth. Zhao Feng held the golden stairs bow as he stood in the middle of the crowd in a daze. He had been recommended by some archers in a daze, and only now did he understand the situation. You just need to use your archery skills to attract the Golden Beak Eagle King to the city wall, General Heng explained his plan. The plan was simple. They would use their archery skills to attack the Golden Beak Eagle King and attract it to the ambush location. I'm afraid, the 7 or 8 godly archers in the crowd looked at each other in dismay, hesitating and embarrassed. What? You can't even do such a small thing? General Heng's face darkened as he laughed coldly. The archers present all had cold sweat on their foreheads. General, the Golden Beak Eagle King's speed is too fast, and it can't be seen with the naked eye. Furthermore, it will attract a strong gust of wind, and the arrows will deviate before they even get close. Adding on its terrifying defense, even if we barely hit it, it would be like tickling it. A middle-aged archer said helplessly. This middle-aged archer's cultivation had reached the 7th rank of the martial path. His words were echoed by several sharpshooters present. Zhao Feng's left eye could see further and clearer, and he understood the difficulty. Firstly, the Golden Beak Eagle King's speed was shocking, and the strong gust of wind it brought made it hard to aim accurately. Secondly, the Golden Beak Eagle King's defense was terrifying, and it could take an attack from an 8th rank head-on without being injured. Furthermore, the archers needed to be near the ground to attack from a distance. Of course. There was another terrifying point. If they really managed to injure the Golden Beak Eagle King, the archers still needed to lure it to the ambush location. Normal cultivators of the 7th or 8th rank of the martial path wouldn't be able to block a single strike from the Golden Beak Eagle King. Therefore, after weighing the above points, almost all the sharpshooters present had no confidence. At this moment, the Golden Beak Eagle King turned into a golden gust of wind and swept past a certain location on the city wall, taking away tens of lives. Whoosh! After killing more than 10 people, the Golden Beak Eagle King turned around and charged towards another direction. Junior brother Mo, be careful! Yi Linyun, Yang Qingshan, and the others exclaimed. This time, the target of the Golden Beak Eagle King was Bainhua. Bainhua was fighting a peak-tiered deadly beast outside the city wall when he heard a gust of wind behind him. Spirit Crane Flying Cloud. Bainhua used a mysterious body lightning technique, and his body was like a spirit crane as he spread its wings and flew dozens of meters in the air. His inner strength howled like the wind as he borrowed the air several times. This was a Saint-grade light martial skill. Chirp! The Golden Beak Eagle King let out a long cry and clashed with Bainhua in midair. Boom! The Golden Beak Eagle King's attack was blocked and Bainhua's blood churned as he landed on the ground. Although he had suffered some light injuries, he had escaped death. After its attack failed, the Golden Beak Eagle King returned to the sky and dived down to find a new target. It seemed like it was the overlord of the sky on this battlefield, and it rampaged about as it pleased. This bastard, if anything happens to junior brother Bainhua, Yi Linyun broke out in cold sweat. He returned back to his original position and discussed with General Heng. So. At this moment, a few of the best sharpshooters tried to attack the Golden Beak Eagle King from afar. Ding ding, a few arrows barely managed to hit the Golden Beak Eagle King's wings, causing sparks to fly. They couldn't break through its defense at all. The expressions of the sharpshooters turned ugly. Unless we can hit a vital point, but it's too difficult. The sharpshooters shook their heads. Ding ding ding, a few more arrows hit the Golden Beak Eagle King, but none of them were able to break through its metallic wings. They failed again. These sharpshooters had bitter smiles on their faces after failing several times. Zhao Feng also pulled out his golden stairs bow and tried to shoot a few arrows. The situation was the same. When the arrows got close to the Golden Beak Eagle King, they would be deflected by the strong wind and couldn't break through its defense. Chio! The Golden Beak Eagle King suddenly dived down with dozens of deadly beasts and attacked the sharpshooters nearby. The sharpshooters' faces turned pale as they tried their best to dodge, but 2 of them still died on the spot. Lightly floating fairy. Zhao Feng used his golden stairs bow, and with a paw, 2 low-tier deadly beasts were slapped to death and a high-tier golden beak eagle was pushed away. Compared to the other sharpshooters who were panicking, Zhao Feng was calm and collected. At this moment, General Heng noticed Zhao Feng. He didn't think that this young sharpshooter would have such strength. Junior brother Zhao, you also specialize in archery? Yi Linyun also noticed Zhao Feng and had a weird expression. Maybe I can try. Zhao Feng nodded his head and appeared in front of Yi Linyun. Young Master Zhao, are you sure? General Heng's expression was solemn as he frowned. If Zhao Feng was a normal sharpshooter, he wouldn't mind giving it a try. But this youth in front of him was Lord Guanjuan's disciple, and if anything were to happen to him, he would have to bear the responsibility. If it's just luring it down, it shouldn't be a problem. Zhao Feng said as he slowly pulled open his golden stairs bow. He took a deep breath and a faint green glow appeared on the surface of his eyes. The golden beak eagle king's speed became extremely slow. Shwa! Under the supervision, Zhao Feng could see the changes in the golden beak eagle king's muscles and bones. He could even predict the direction it was going to fly in. He stood on the spot with his left eye locked onto the golden beak eagle king and didn't fire a single arrow. Not simple indeed. General Heng and Yi Linyun looked at each other. They could all sense the condensed energy on Zhao Feng's body, the sharp space-piercing energy that was continuing to climb. The sharpness in the youth's eyes made them almost unable to look him in the eye. Chiao! Suddenly, the golden beak eagle king turned around and flew towards the side. So. Without thinking, Zhao Feng pulled the golden stairs bow again and again, and the sound of the bowstring vibrating could be heard in the air. In that instant, 3 arrows whistled through the air, forming a strange arc as they shot towards the void. From the looks of it, the 3 arrows didn't seem to be heading towards the golden beak eagle king, but they were heading in that direction. A weird scene appeared in the sky above the city wall. 3 golden arrows collided with the golden shadow of the golden beak eagle king. That's right. They clashed. Whether it was the golden sword or the golden beak eagle king, they were both flying in an arc. They started from 2 different trajectories and finally converged. Chi! The golden arrow whistled as a wisp of condensed green energy broke through the layer of wind around the golden beak eagle king and accurately pierced its eyeball. This scene made the godly archers below exclaim one after another. As sharpshooters, their eyesight was far superior to that of ordinary people. How did you do it? A 7th archer's pupils constricted. He could not believe how Zhao Feng was able to hit the golden beak eagle king's vitals under such high speed and wind. Ding! The golden arrow pierced through the golden beak eagle king's eye but was blocked by its eyelid. What a pity! The sharpshooters on the city wall couldn't help but feel regretful. It turned out that the golden beak eagle king had closed its eyes at the last moment. As a top-tier dire beast, the overlord of the sky, its reaction was extremely fast. At this moment, Zhao Feng pursed his lips into a smile. Swoosh! The other 2 golden arrows followed the trajectory of the first arrow and pierced through the golden beak eagle king's eyelid. Because the first arrow had already pierced through the wind around the golden beak eagle king, the next 2 arrows were much smoother. Ding chi! The second arrow barely pierced through the golden beak eagle king's eyelid and blood flowed out. Chi! The third arrow pierced through the bloodstains and into the eyeball. 3 consecutive arrows, like a whole arc, were shot in one go, one after the other, piercing the same point. The first 2 arrows were used to pave the way, but the last arrow was the real killer. Such a stunning archery strike caused the archers on the city walls to be dumbfounded, their faces filled with shock. Caw! An ear-piercing screech came from the sky as the golden beak eagle king's eyeball was pierced and blood flowed out. With boundless anger, it charged towards the culprit, Zhao Feng. Prepare for the ambush. Zhao Feng had already expected this and used lightly floating fairy to head towards the ambush area. At this time, the people on the city wall including General Heng, Yi Linyun and the sharpshooters woke up from their daze. Ambush. Prepare to attack. Commander Hang and Yi Linyun were two level 9 rankers, and there were a few level 8 pinnacle rankers around them, secretly gathering their strength. Caw! The golden beak eagle king flew towards Zhao Feng with lightning speed. Zhao Feng felt a cold sense of danger and he knew that he had been locked on by the golden beak eagle king. Smoking transparent step. His figure flashed and he blended into the crowd on the city wall. The golden beak eagle king had almost lost sight of Zhao Feng when it was near the city wall. Zhao Feng's smoking transparent step was invisible and he was able to pass through the crowd. At this time, General Hang and Yi Linyun, who were hiding nearby, attacked at the same time. Sky-breaking strike. Death slice. Two peak 9th ranks, one blade and one palm, exploded with terrifying power. The shockwave swept across a radius of 15 meters, pressuring the city wall. Boom! Crack! The golden beak eagle king, who had lost his mind, was caught off guard by the attacks of the two 9th ranks. Yi Linyun used a holy martial art. His palm seemed to turn into a wind blade that cut through the golden beak eagle king's strong defense, leaving behind 7 to 8 deep wounds. Although General Heng's blade skill was a half-holy martial art, it was close to the max level and was stronger than Yi Linyun's attack. Poochie! That blade filled with killing intent almost chopped the golden beak eagle king's head off. Boom! Boom! Following that, the surrounding 7th and 8th ranks all attacked, beating the golden beak eagle king half to death. Caw! The golden beak eagle king, who was at the end of its tether, used the last bit of its strength to charge towards a youth holding a golden bow. Chapter 93. Watch out! Brother Zhao! Exclamations came from the ambush area on the city wall. At this moment, everyone could see that the golden beak eagle king was struggling and it would only last 1 or 2 breaths at most before it died. But before it died, the golden beak eagle king's eyes turned red and it attacked Zhao Feng, the main culprit. It was clear that it remembered Zhao Feng, the main culprit, and was determined to take him down with it before it died. Not good. Zhao Feng felt a strong sense of danger. Under the pressure of the deadly beast's killing intent, the blood in his body almost froze. At this critical moment, he opened his left eye to the limit and a strange warm aura spread throughout his body. His heart was still calm and his eyes became sharper as if they had a penetrating power. The golden beak eagle king's speed was too terrifying and in the blink of an eye, it pounced onto Zhao Feng. That speed exceeded the reaction speed of a normal cultivator. Even if one could see the movement clearly, it would be hard to dodge. Plop! Zhao Feng's figure instantly disappeared and a large hole appeared on the city wall. Just when everyone thought that Zhao Feng had been killed. Flowing wind stance. Smoking transparent step. A youth's figure appeared on top of the golden beak eagle king's head. What? The experts in the ambush area looked as if they had seen a ghost. Their hearts, which had been hanging in their throats, suffered an inexplicable heavy blow. They seemed to be completely unable to bear such a huge reversal. What a profound movement skill! Yi Linyun's eyes flashed with joy. In that instant, he saw Zhao Feng's figure flash with the wind and he used the smoking transparent step to dodge the golden beak eagle king's attack. Even I was almost tricked. General Heng's heart skipped a beat. In that instant, Zhao Feng had merged the essence of the flowing wind stance into his half-holy martial art, smoking transparent step, which allowed him to dodge the golden beak eagle king's attack. The combination of flowing wind form and misty shadowless steps had a might that was comparable to a genuine saint-grade movement technique. Of course, to be able to successfully dodge and move to the top of his opponent's head, Zhao Feng's left eye's assistance and prediction played a huge role. At this moment, Zhao Feng felt as if all the blood in his body was burning, and his essence, qi, and spirit were unprecedentedly strong. In the dimension of his left eye, the faint green light extended to 7 feet and 8 inches. No! How did he end up on the head of the golden beak eagle king? At this moment, the people nearby couldn't help but exclaim. Zhao Feng had dodged the attack, but his footing was wrong. He was practically standing in front of the tiger's mouth. Tornado style. Mysterious wind palm. A sharp light flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes and a layer of green light appeared on his palm. The light became more and more intense as it followed a mysterious wind pattern and struck the golden beak eagle king's head. At that moment, the might of a raging wind seemed to have risen from his body. As he struck out with his palm, the wind was like a blade that danced and whistled wildly. Pucci, his mysterious wind palm, hit the golden beak eagle king's head. This wound was originally left behind by General Heng's blade, which had almost cut off the golden beak eagle king's head. At this moment, Zhao Feng's combination of mysterious wind palm and tornado style hit this vital spot. Pucci! 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 The bloody wound on the golden beak eagle king's head had a shocking amount of blood and the wound was getting bigger. It was as if it had been slashed by a rotating blade. Boom! The golden beak eagle king's head exploded into pieces and its giant body fell to the ground. The city tower where it was collapsed, creating a cloud of dust. Tang! Zhao Feng's figure flew into the air, his palm still stained with the golden beak eagle king's blood. One rising and one falling, it was as if the battle between Zhao Feng and the golden beak eagle king had been decided. Amidst the dust, the city tower area became the focal point of the battlefield. The golden beak eagle king has been killed. Who is that youth? He actually killed the golden beak eagle king with his own hands. The battlefield was in an uproar. Zhao Feng immediately became the focal point of everyone's attention. Brother Zhao, good job. Yi Linyun and the wooden youth in the distance all cheered. General Heng also recovered from his shock and laughed, ha ha ha. Good job. You've done a great job in killing the golden beak eagle king. But at the last moment, you might have taken the credit. Take credit? Zhao Feng paused slightly. Everything he had done just then was because his left eye had seen the whole situation and made the best decision. At that time, instead of dodging and running, it would have been safer and more dependable to give the final blow. But in the eyes of others, Zhao Feng had taken a risk. Not only did he not run, he even dared to take the credit. But no matter what, killing the golden beak eagle king was Zhao Feng's performance. If it wasn't for Zhao Feng's superb archery skills, he wouldn't have been able to lure the golden beak eagle king down. In the end, the person who personally killed the golden beak eagle king was Zhao Feng. The entire process could be said to have been coordinated from the beginning to the end. After killing the golden beak eagle king, the rest of the flying beasts will be easy. General Heng revealed a smile and praised Zhao Feng. After losing the golden beak eagle king, the flying beasts in the sky were like a pile of loose sand. As for the beast horde on the ground, with Guangzhou Province City's strength, their advantage would only increase as time passed. Zhao Feng sat cross-legged at the back. Yi Linyun and the others thought that he had used up his energy and was injured. In reality, Zhao Feng had trained in the returning breath inner strength and his inner strength was extremely strong, twice that of others of the same level. Furthermore, he wasn't injured at all. Flowing wind stance. Tornado stance. Mysterious wind palm. In the dimension of Zhao Feng's left eye, the images of the three moves appeared and intertwined. The flowing wind stance had completely merged into Zhao Feng's movement skill. Now, the more profound essence of the second style, tornado style, had been integrated into his attacks and palm techniques. Unknowingly, his understanding of the tornado stance had reached 70 to 80%. Furthermore, with the verification of the profoundness of the flowing wind style and the tornado style, his mysterious wind palm had achieved a great breakthrough. He had comprehended the essence of the mysterious wind palm and achieved 60 to 70% comprehension. This meant that Zhao Feng's mysterious wind palm now had 60 to 70% of the youthful girl's charm. In that move just now, he had merged the tornado stance into the mysterious wind palm, increasing the latter's power. This kid got lucky again. Feng Hanyue, who was on the other side of the battlefield, looked at Zhao Feng in shock. Last time, during the mission, Zhao Feng had also killed the leader of the bandits. But this time, he was even more arrogant. Under the gazes of several experts of the 8th and 9th rank, Zhao Feng killed the Golden Beak Eagle King with one palm and took all the credit for it. In many people's eyes, Zhao Feng's actions were another act of stealing credit. This guy actually managed to kill a peak-tier deadly beast. In the distance, Bainhua's face also twitched slightly. Ever since the start of the battle, Bainhua had been fighting with peak-tier deadly beasts and was even attacked by the Golden Beak Eagle King. Even after a few close calls, he still hadn't managed to kill a peak-tier deadly beast. On the other hand, this newcomer junior brother Zhao actually picked up such a big bargain. Kill! Kill! The morale of the Guangzhou province city side rose as the army and cultivators pushed back the horde of beasts again and again. Who, after comprehending for a while, Zhao Feng slowly stood up. Just now, he had a breakthrough in the tornado stance and mysterious wind palm. Not only that, he felt that his cultivation was close to the peak 7th rank. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned the horde of beasts below and he felt that something was wrong. Wrong! Something was wrong. Soon, he found the reason. The attacks of these deadly beasts seemed to be organized. They are all led by peak-tier deadly beasts and other beasts. Zhao Feng saw through this. If he could see this, the higher-ups of the Guangzhou province city also felt that something was wrong. Could it be that this horde of beasts was planned by someone? Yi Linyun, Commander Hang, and the others were filled with doubts. In the battle, Zhao Feng's Golden Stairs Bow displayed its power again and again, killing many high-tier deadly beasts. Suddenly, he became a beautiful scene on the city wall. Every time the bowstring sounded, a few deadly beasts would fall from the sky. Zhao Feng's archery god's left eye was also refined in the horde of beasts. His superb archery skills made the archers and godly archers on the city wall look up to him in admiration. "Sir Zhao, can I be your disciple?" Some of the younger archers were filled with admiration. Zhao Feng was a bit speechless. Seeing that the flying beasts in the sky weren't much of a threat, he put away his bow and charged into the horde of beasts outside the city. Star Finger. Mysterious Wind Palm. Zhao Feng's figure moved with the wind, silently knocking down the deadly beasts. Plop! Plop! Every time he attacked, he would be able to find the flaws of the beasts. Everywhere he went, the beasts fell to the ground and died. This youth is so scary. Not only is his archery skills great, but his close combat skills are also amazing. The martial artists and archers that were paying attention to Zhao Feng exclaimed once again. Under normal circumstances, those that were good at archery, especially godly archers, were not good at close combat. However, Zhao Feng was a monster. Not only was his archery skills amazing, his close combat skills were also amazing. Beasts of the same level couldn't even take 1 or 2 hits from him. This Zhao Feng's potential is no less than Bainhua's, but it's a pity that he's only master's in-name disciple and can't inherit master's legacy. Yi Linyun looked at Zhao Feng's performance from afar and shook his head regretfully. After a long time, Zhao Feng felt a familiar cold aura, as if he was being stared at by something terrifying. Shwa! He opened his left eye and his vision pierced through the beast horde. After traveling tens of miles, his vision landed on the back of a black bird with a figure wearing a hat sitting on it. Under the bamboo hat, a pair of dark blue, cold eyes could be seen, striking one's soul. It's him! Zhao Feng's heart jumped. The figure wearing the hat was the terrifying existence that he had met in the sky cloud forest. Roar! Right at this moment, a roar came from the beast horde outside the city. An aura that was several times more terrifying than the Golden Beak Eagle King was approaching the city. That roar caused the hundreds of thousands of wild beasts and vicious beasts outside Guangzhou province city to tremble in fear. In this moment, even the powerful top-rank beasts froze momentarily. Fear and respect that came from their bloodline and soul appeared in their eyes. The human cultivators on the city walls felt their hearts jump. Papa! Papa, what was going on? Zhao Feng felt the blood in his body tremble uneasily and his left eye started to beat rapidly. What kind of aura is this? It far exceeds the top-tier deadly beasts. Yi Linyun, General Heng and Mu Na's voices trembled. A suffocating aura swept over, causing the hundreds of thousands of beasts to tremble as if they were worshipping their king. Chapter 94. Following that soul-stirring roar, the humans and the beast tide fell into a momentary silence in the intense battlefield. This was especially so for the beast horde. Whether it was the birds in the sky or the beasts on the ground, all of them trembled as if they were worshipping their king. In the distance, a long passageway appeared in the middle of the beast horde. What is it that makes the top-tier beasts fear it? The human martial artists on the city walls felt their hairs stand on end as they stared at the passageway in the beast horde. Zhao Feng's eyesight was the strongest. From far away, he could see a crimson-black dog-like beast slowly approaching from afar. The crimson-black dog-like beast was similar in size to a wolf. It was about 1.5 meters long. Compared to other beasts and wild beasts, it seemed extremely small. Dog? Zhao Feng wanted to laugh, but he couldn't. Every step the crimson-black strange dog took gave off a soul-shaking aura. When Zhao Feng saw the crimson-black strange dog's eyes, it was completely crimson-black as if it was burning with a black flame. It gave off a pressure that came from the soul and flesh. The visual impact caused Zhao Feng's heart to shake. The thumping sound coming from his left eye became faster and faster. It was unknown if it was out of excitement or fear. When the crimson-black strange dog approached the city walls, the human martial artists' hearts trembled. The air seemed to be filled with an aura that suppressed their flesh and blood. It made it hard for the human martial artists to breathe. Even the inner strength in their bodies trembled. Could this be the legendary king-level beast? Commander Heng sucked in a cold breath as a trace of extreme fear flashed through his eyes. One had to know that his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th rank and he was one of the strongest people present. King-level beast. The heads of the martial artists present buzzed and some of their faces turned pale. Many people knew a bit about the legend of the king-level beast. Normally, fierce beasts were divided into low and high ranks. The low ranks corresponded to martial artists, the high ranks corresponded to martial masters, and the peak ranks corresponded to the peak of the 9th rank. However, peak rank fierce beasts weren't the true peak. On top of that, there was a legendary and terrifying existence, king-level dire beast. King-class dire beasts, hence their name, were the kings of dire beasts. Be it high-tier dire beasts or low-tier dire beasts, they all had to bow down to them. It was a nightmare that surpassed the top-level fierce beasts and even the 9 stages of the martial path. Zhao Feng could not help but recall the contents of the relevant books in the library. There were records of king-level dire beasts. A king-level beast could command all the other beasts and beasts in the sky cloud forest. Once a king-class vicious beast intruded into human territory, it would bring about catastrophic destruction. Ordinary cities would be destroyed in an instant. In some ancient records, there were even legends of multiple king-level ferocious beasts leading an army of beasts to destroy a country. A king-level dire beast. Legend has it that it can destroy an entire country. On top of the city walls of Guangzhou, some of the warriors were terrified, their voices trembling. The sun was setting. Amidst the low growls and worship of over 100,000 wild beasts and vicious beasts, the king-level vicious beast, the scarlet black dog, slowly approached the city tower. The king-level deadly beast did not attack. Instead, it raised its cold eyes and scanned across the people on top of the city tower. General Heng, Yi Linyun and the other cultivators of the 9th rank felt as if their hearts had been struck by lightning. In that instant, the king-level deadly beast confirmed the strongest people on top of the city tower. Stop him. Send a message to the master. A few dark silver figures appeared in the tower near the city tower. Shwa! The few dark figures flew onto the city tower. First, second, fourth, third guard cried out in alarm. At this moment, the first 4 guards of the Guanjuan Corps were all present. First guard's aura had reached a terrifying level that made normal 9th ranks of the martial path tremble. Half-step Holy Realm. Yi Linyun took in a cold breath as his eyes scanned across. First guard's cultivation had exceeded the peak 9th rank, half a step into the holy martial path. Go! A few dark silver afterimages flashed and landed below the city tower, facing off against the king-level beast. First guard, second guard, third guard, fourth guard. The 4 strongest guards of the Guanjuan Corps formed a semicircle formation and blocked the king-level deadly beast's advance. Cultivators of the 9th rank, prepare to help. General Heng's face was solemn as he gave the order. He understood that with just the strength of the 4 guards, they wouldn't be able to stop the legendary king-level deadly beast. Shwa! Soon, a few more cultivators of the 9th rank appeared around the city tower. On top of the city tower, a few archers pulled their bowstrings. Zhao Feng also drew his golden stairs bow from afar. Wu, the king-level deadly beast's cold eyes seemed to have human emotions as it looked at the humans on the city wall in disdain. Sky Death Net. The 4 powerful Guanjuan Corps turned into blurry shadows as they held short blades in their hands, forming a net that covered the king-level deadly beast. This heavenly death net was executed by the 4 great guards together, and its might surpassed ordinary saint-grade martial skills. The cold gleam on the edge of the saber was like mercury, leaving no room for escape as it enveloped the entire area. Far away, Zhao Feng felt a chill in his heart. If he fell into this inescapable death net, even if he had the mysterious left eye, he wouldn't be able to find a way out. If an ordinary 9th stage expert were to fall into the inescapable death net, it would only take an instant for them to be torn to pieces. The 4 great guards had joined hands to launch this move, and in the past 10 years, no one had ever escaped from it. Today, this deathly move had landed on a king-level vicious beast. Puchi Puchi Puchi, the Crimson Black Dog King was surrounded by a dense amount of blade energy, and the ground was filled with craters. There was no way for it to escape. Roar! A layer of black flames rose from the Crimson Black Dog King's body, and a terrifying aura that surpassed all living beings present swept out in all directions. Pa! The king-level vicious beast waved its claw, and a dark arc of light several feet long appeared in the air, causing wind to howl and black smoke to billow. That simple stroke was like a profound martial skill, and it was more like a bolt of black lightning splitting space. Kacha! The inescapable death net that could instantly tear apart a 9th rank expert was shattered. Clang! Clang! The weapons in the hands of 2nd guard and 4th guard fell to the ground, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. The bodies of 1st guard and 3rd guard stiffened, and their faces paled. On the city wall, Zhao Feng's left eye clearly saw the king-level vicious beast's claw, and his heart shook. Because in his eyes, the king-level vicious beast's claw was a profound martial skill. Vicious beasts also knew martial skills. This was Zhao Feng's misconception. The other party's attack had a similar feeling to the palm of the immature girl in the Blood Python Canyon. Hoo! The king-level deadly beast slammed its claw onto the ground, and a layer of crimson-black flames flickered as it spread out. The nearby soil was instantly torn apart, and smoke rose like a wave. Get out of the way! One of the guards cried out in alarm. The short blade in his hand slashed out several saber lights to meet the black flames. The other guards also retreated as they fought. Sky-breaking strike. Death slice. The attacks of Yi Linyun, General Heng and the other 9th ranks all arrived, and they protected the 4 Guanjuan Corps. However, the crimson-black flames released by the king-level deadly beast had a power that surpassed the limits of the 9th rank, and before it even got close, they felt a burning sensation on their skin. Ah! A 9th rank's clothes started to burn as he rolled on the ground. The 9th rank circulated his inner strength, but he couldn't stop the heat from spreading, and he soon turned into a pile of charred corpses. Not only that, the 3rd and 4th guards of the 4 David guards were also touched by the terrifying crimson-black flame waves. Don't worry about me, run. Amidst the roar, Fourth Guard's entire body began to burn uncontrollably. He activated all of his martial arts' inner strength, causing a rumbling sound in the air as he slammed into the king-level vicious beast. Gotcha! The king-level deadly beast waved its claw and smashed Fourth Guard's body into pieces. The explosion didn't harm it at all. Third Guard! The other guards exclaimed. Third Guard, who was also the wooden youth, also had his arms stained by the crimson-black flames. Gotcha! Third Guard gritted his teeth and cut off his arm to escape. Everyone retreat! First Guard, General Heng and the others exclaimed. Zhao Feng, who was standing on top of the city wall, was shocked. He had fired a few arrows from his golden stairs bow, but before they could even get close to the king-level deadly beast, they all turned to dust. Run! Everyone retreat! Nearly 10 cultivators of the 9th stage of the martial path were defeated by the king-level beast. A few of them died and fled in panic. The difference is just too big. Bei Moi, Nan Gongfan and the other disciples all retreated, distancing themselves from the king-level deadly beast. Roar! The king-level vicious beast roared. Behind him, several other top-tier vicious beasts stood side by side. It's gathering its underlings to attack. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat as he could almost see the destruction of the Guangzhouan province city. Was the nightmare of a king-level deadly beast destroying a country going to happen in the Cloud Country? As the cultivators of the Guangzhouan province city were in despair, the sound of something flying came from behind them. Where did this bastard come from? How dare you invade my territory? A powerful and distant voice came from the sky. So, with the naked eye, all that could be seen was a streak of silver light streaking across the void, and it was hard to discern with the naked eye. That's... Zhao Feng's left eye was circulated to the maximum and his reaction speed increased by 10 to 20 times. He caught sight of a middle-aged man wearing a gold-lined silver robe flying through the air like a god. In just a short while, the man had traveled 200 meters in the air. That kind of skill was like flying in the clouds, and it had exceeded the limits of normal movement skills. Flying? Is this something a human can do? Zhao Feng's heart jumped as he recognized the person. It was Lord Guanjuan. The valiant middle-aged man in a silver robe with golden patterns floated above the king-level vicious beast's head and stopped in midair. Under the powerful airflow, his body actually floated in midair for a short while and didn't fall. Illusion wave slash. Lord Guanjuan waved his hand and a silver light shot into the sky. In a split second, a thunderous sound pierced through the sky. With the naked eye, a 7 to 8 meter long silver light blade surrounded by a layer of high-frequency vibrating sharp silver waves ruthlessly cut into the area where the king-level vicious beast was. Roar! The king-level vicious beast revealed a trace of uneasiness. It waved its sharp claws and unleashed a wave of dark red flames that collided with the silver light. Pang! The berserk shockwaves and astral winds soared up to the height of a few people and swept through the surrounding 20 meters. They left many holes in the ground and black smoke rose up. As for the few top-tier dire beasts near the king-level dire beast, they were instantly torn to pieces amidst their wails, charred beyond recognition. Second updates, recommendations, and those that were not collected could be collected. All sorts of methods could be used to support this book. Chapter 95. Lord Guanjuan. Lord Guanjuan. Exclamations came from the city walls. Yi Linyun, Commander Heng, 3rd Guard, and the other 9th stage rankers who were retreating in a sorry state were all pleasantly surprised, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Near the city wall, everyone was looking at the silver-robed, golden-patterned middle-aged man floating above the dust waves, revealing expressions of reverence, yearning, and excitement. That man was like a martial god descending to the world. His whole body was surrounded by a layer of silver light that vibrated at a high frequency, forming a sharp silver wave. In the blink of an eye, he clashed with the king-level beast. The shockwave from the clash of the two instantly killed a few peak-tiered deadly beasts nearby, shocking everyone. Roar, a few bloody gashes appeared on the body of the Lord-level deadly beast as the black flames on its body shrunk. It stared at Lord Guanjuan with anger and wariness. Great! Lord Guanjuan will definitely be able to kill the Lord-level deadly beast. The human warriors, who had fallen into despair near the city wall, now had strong hope and expectation in their eyes as they cheered enthusiastically. In their eyes, Lord Guanjuan was like a god, unrivaled and unrivaled. Zhao Feng let out a breath as he stood on the city wall. Truthfully speaking, he had even prepared to run at the most critical moment. The mysterious left eye had already analyzed the best way to escape. After all, the strength of the Lord-level deadly beast was too terrifying. Normal cultivators of the 9th rank were as weak as babies in front of it, not to mention martial masters below the 9th rank. At this time, Zhao Feng opened his left eye and scanned the situation of Lord Guanjuan and the Lord-level deadly beast. Without a doubt, the strength of Lord Guanjuan and the Lord-level deadly beast had surpassed the 9th rank of the martial path and reached the legendary Holy Martial Path. Shwa! Lord Guanjuan's robe fluttered in the wind as he slowly floated down from the sky. The dust around him was pushed aside and a wave of air rushed out in all directions. Lord Guanjuan has surpassed the 9th rank of the martial path and he can use his strength to float in the air for a short period of time. Zhao Feng's left eye saw the changes in Lord Guanjuan's aura and came to a conclusion. Flying in the sky was a human's dream, but it was an unattainable wish. Although Lord Guanjuan wasn't really flying, the power he displayed was enough to make cultivators of the 9th rank of the martial path bow down to him. Bastard! This is the human world, scram back to Sky Cloud Forest. Lord Guanjuan stood proudly on the spot as his voice resounded around the city walls. Under the invisible pressure of the martial Dao Sage realm, the thousands of ferocious beasts and wild beasts nearby trembled in fear. If it weren't for the presence of a king-level vicious beast, they would have long since scattered in fear. The many cultivators near the city walls all felt that formless pressure. This pressure came from the mental level, directly entering their minds and souls. Then, it transmitted to their flesh and blood, making them feel suffocated. Thump! Thump! Zhao Feng's left eye twitched as if it felt some kind of pressure. It emitted a strange warmth that seeped into his flesh and bones. In the dimension of his left eye, the faint green light slowly extended from 7'8" to 7'9". This change made Zhao Feng's heart jump. Ever since he had merged with the mysterious left eye, Zhao Feng had felt its growth and potential time and time again. At this moment, under the pressure, the left eye was squeezing out all of his potential, strengthening his bloodline and even increasing his cultivation. Zhao Feng had a feeling that his talent had already surpassed a half-spiritual body. Just as he was hesitating, the battle below the city wall was about to begin. Roar, the king-level vicious beast waved its claw, and like a bolt of black lightning, it tore through the void. Its aura and flames roared wildly, covering a radius of 20 to 30 meters, destroying and burning everything in its path. The surrounding land was charred black. Such power and destructive power made Zhao Feng's scalp tingle and his heart tremble. If the king-level deadly beast really entered the Guanjuan province, the consequences would be unimaginable. 10 cross rippling slash. Lord Guanjuan's arm condensed to the extreme and in an instant, he slashed out a bright silver cross that twisted and twisted, bringing with it a sharp gust of wind that tore apart the king-level deadly beast's attack. Boom! The ground shook and a storm of dust was kicked up. In the next instant, the two figures disappeared in the blink of an eye. Peng Peng, Lord Guanjuan and the king-level deadly beast appeared in mid-air as they clashed. The sound of their battle shook the hearts of the nearby flying beasts. The two figures were tiny compared to the nearby deadly beasts. But the terrifying power that exploded from their bodies made the nearby high-tier deadly beasts tremble. The cultivators on the city walls held their breaths, their hearts filled with shock. However, most of the cultivators couldn't see the battle clearly. But Zhao Feng could see it clearly with his left eye. Strength, speed, damage. I can't imagine what a human can do. Zhao Feng took in a deep breath. It was because he could see it clearly that he understood the power of a Holy Realm Grandmaster. In the 13 countries alliance, Holy Realm Grandmasters were above mortals and the power they held was enough to change the fate of a country. Therefore, even a monarch would be respectful and courteous in front of a Sage Realm Grandmaster. He wouldn't dare to be arrogant. Lord Guanjuan was a person of this level and the power he held was above mortals. In the Cloud Country, he was a legend. The battle between the Holy Realm Grandmasters was short, but in just a few moments, they had already exchanged tens of blows. Amidst the explosions, the king-level deadly beast let out a cry of pain. Its body was covered in wounds and as it howled, the black flames on its body shrunk. On the other hand, Lord Guanjuan's silver robe fluttered in the wind as he stared coldly at the king-level deadly beast. Lord Guanjuan isn't injured at all. Although he's also at the Holy Realm, his skills are higher than the king-level deadly beasts. Zhao Feng's breathing quickened as he stared at the two. Wu, fear appeared in the king-level deadly beast's eyes as it tried to run away. Its actions caused the beasts near Guangjuan Prefecture City to panic. Want to run? Lord Guanjuan laughed coldly as he waved his arm and a 7 to 8 meter long silver light left a deep gash on the king-level deadly beast's body. Shua, two figures flashed through the beast horde, sometimes on the ground, sometimes in the air. Ha ha ha, these bastards have lost, chase them. The parts and materials of dire beasts are all rare and valuable items. The warriors on the walls of Guangjuan Province City roared in excitement, their morale soaring as they led the charge out of the city. Nan Gongfan, Zhao Feng, Feng Hanyue, let's chase and see how Master kills the king-level deadly beast. Yang Qingshan said excitedly. On the other side, Beimhua, who was the core disciple of Lord Guanjuan, had already chased after the king-level deadly beast. Everyone, attack! General Heng gave the order, commanding the warriors and army in Guangjuan Province to kill the escaping beast horde. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded his head and charged in the direction that the Lord-tier deadly beast had escaped in. Zhao Feng was very interested in the battle between Holy Realm cultivators. His left eye could see the entire process of the battle between Lord Guanjuan and the king-level deadly beast. After tens of miles, Lord Guanjuan and the king-level deadly beast stopped near a forest. The king-level vicious beast was riddled with wounds and dripping with blood. Its injuries were so severe that they were almost fatal. It lay motionlessly on the ground. Lord Guanjuan's body froze on the spot, he didn't move. Him. What's going on? Zhao Feng didn't understand what was going on. At this moment, Beimhua was 7 to 8 miles away from Lord Guanjuan and he couldn't see what was going on. But tens of miles away, Zhao Feng saw something through his left eye. The king-level deadly beast wasn't under Lord Guanjuan's feet. Because its back was facing Lord Guanjuan and it was trembling in fear. What was puzzling was that Lord Guanjuan didn't do anything under this situation. Who's there? Lord Guanjuan's expression was solemn as he released a terrifying mental energy aura that caused the leaves to stop falling. Zhe. There's an ascended realm cultivator in the Guangjuan Province City. Above the forest, on the back of a blackbird sat a hooded figure. Under the hooded figure, a pair of cold blue eyes stared at Lord Guanjuan as he laughed. It's him. Tens of miles away, Zhao Feng's heart shook. Back then, Zhao Feng had seen this person in the sky cloud forest. Zhao Feng had a feeling that the beast horde this time was controlled by this person. Why are you controlling beasts to attack human cities? Are you not afraid of the 13 clans' laws? Lord Guanjuan's voice was sharp as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Paw! The black bird in the sky flapped its wings and a black gust of wind swept downwards. Lord Guanjuan's expression changed slightly as he retreated tens of yards. Instantly, the area 10 yards away from where he was sunk down a few inches. As for that king-level vicious beast, the crimson black dog, it let out a miserable wail as its body disintegrated and died on the spot. See, Zhao Feng, who was far away, couldn't help but take in a cold breath as he saw this. The black bird under the hooded figure was more than twice as strong as the crimson black beast. Of course, his left eye could only see far away and he couldn't hear the conversation between Lord Guanjuan and the hooded figure. As the conversation continued, Lord Guanjuan's expression changed several times as he stared at the hooded figure with a solemn expression. "Zhe, under the 13 clans, we live and die together. Let's stop here." At last, the hooded figure's blue eyes scanned Bei Moi, who was chasing behind him, before he turned into a black light and flew into the sky. When Bei Moi arrived, the hooded figure and the black bird had already turned into a black dot and disappeared into the sky. "Master, what just happened? Who was that person?" When Bei Moi arrived, he looked towards the direction where the hooded figure disappeared. Lord Guanjuan stood there for a long time before letting out a long breath. The 13 countries are in danger and chaos is about to descend. It's unavoidable that the Cloud Country will be caught in it. But for you guys, a chance is about to arrive. As he said this, he looked towards the disciples behind him with anticipation. A chance? Zhao Feng, Yang Qingshan and Feng Hanyue all arrived. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.